Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the pledge of allegiance. If in uniform, salute. Right hand over your heart. Face the flag. Salute. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready?
Hey guys.
With us today we have Angel Aguilar, not here. Okay. Seth Sanchez, Ian Boyer, and we have Willie Keys.
Debbie.
Are you? Yeah, we'll make sure to get you.
You want to propose it?
Okay. Do we have any agenda changes for today?
I do. I would like to propose moving 5.4 update of recreation programs up to the head of the agenda, since we have many little leaguers here tonight.
Okay. 5.4 after directly after consent or before consent?
After consent.
Any others?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to ask that we pull the warrant register, item 2.2, and we can take that up at the end.
And I've been notified that we need to strike 2.8 from the agenda. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, if I could also suggest, we have two scouts here tonight that will be presenting Eagle Scout projects to you, and those are items 5.1 and 5.2. We may want to move those towards the front of the agenda as well.
Apologize, I missed that one. We have a motion?
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Dedina absent.
Mayor Council reimbursements, Mr. Patton,
And notices?
and notices.
Okay. Yes, I had the opportunity to go up to Monterey, drove up there for a 3-day seminar by the League of California Cities, and it's very rewarding. One of the topics I talked about or listened to was communicating with residents, not only through multimedia, but how important it is to really do it in person. So that was a good one. Another one was creating a strong council and city manager relationship, which I feel we have here, but it was good to see. And I think one of the best ones I went to was an advanced workshop about how we could look at other sources from other cities to get what we need to get projects done. So that was a very rewarding 3-day workshop I went to. And then Thursday, I went to grand opening of McDonald's, which was very rewarding. Ronald and I are now on first name basis. And it was a great crowd, and it's an iconic restaurant. It's been there forever. They kept the sign. If you haven't been there yet, go check it out. And finally, I look forward to our 59th Sun and Sea Festival coming up, and I'm sure more will be said on that. Thank you.
Councilmember Bragg. Councilmember Spriggs, sorry.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also attended the League of California Cities Leadership workshops, and Councilmember Patton and I sometimes, for the most part, we did different sessions so that we could
bring back at some point to the council, learning that wasn't duplicated. Um, I attended a session on forging an effective city council, city attorney relationship, which was very good, very informative. And we have an outstanding city attorney and a great relationship here. And we learned a lot more about the role of the city attorney and a lot more appreciation for all the different functions behind the scenes that a city attorney is responsible for. Um, I also attended a workshop called New Tools for Tax Increment Financing in the Post-Redevelopment World, and new tools such as, under new legislation, the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District legislation, EIFDs, different ways that we can start thinking creatively about how to continue to improve Imperial Beach. And I also attended the Strong City Council city manager relationships, and have a new appreciation for all the headaches that our city manager has to deal with. Luckily, none of them are caused by the city council here in Imperial Beach, right, Mr. City Manager? And also a very important one that I'd like to maybe suggest we think about in a workshop, and that's streamlining development and permitting processes in the city. Probably every city council member gets complaints from anyone who wants to do any remodeling or rehabbing their place, or certainly new businesses, about the permitting process. I think it's just a natural thing, but it's also something we can continually try to improve. And there are various techniques for assessing that process and whether it's really streamlined enough or not. And finally, on the last day, there was a whole day session that I attended on city finances, and all of the ins and outs of the budgeting process and how to do the kinds of things that we've already started to do, but even better in Imperial Beach, like a more transparent and public involved budget process. So what I'm hoping is that at some point, maybe with some staff help, we could write some of these results up. The league has a wonderful website with all the presentations on the website, so that this information could be maybe shared on the city website and certainly shared with the other council members. I think that would really make this really worthwhile. Secondly and finally, yesterday the Unified Port had one of their regular meetings, and they had a lengthy discussion on Pond 20, and there were lots of recommendations made to the port, which has received done a lot of consulting studies on what should be done with Pond 20. And the overwhelming recommendation, it seemed to me, was that the bulk of Pond 20 should be used for environmental mitigation from other development projects around the bay, and that the proceeds should go to the South Bay cities of Imperial Beach and District 8 of the city of San Diego, our adjoining district. And that was a good thing to hear. There were some arguments for economic development of Pond 20, and I made a statement that any economic development on the western part of Pond 20 near 13th should carefully consider the fact that we have a lot of public investment and private investment in the Bikeway Village project, and commercial development that would compete with that would defeat the purpose of our public and private investment in that project. And the board chair, Commissioner Malcolm, repeated that point later on in the discussion. So I think we made a good presentation. The city manager also made a presentation. and Imperial Beach is definitely on the radar of the port for Pond 20. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spriggs. Just a couple of reminders. Sun and Sea Festival starts Friday with the mayor's paddle and breakfast. We also have the Sandcastle Ball, or the Sun and Sea Festival Ball, I guess it's being called nowadays, on Friday night. And then the festivities really begin on July 18th, Saturday, with the parade. We also have the dog competition, surf dog competition, Saturday, August 1st, which also coincides with the Relay for Life. And we'd also like to thank the IB firefighters for hanging the flags for the 4th of July. I also attended the Sandag meetings in June. Nothing really to report, just usual business there. And that's all I have. So, Mr. Hall, do you have anything from staff?
I do, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I wanted to introduce the new Assistant City Manager and Community Development Director, Mr. Steve Dush, and I don't see him. Oh, he's got to sit down. Steve's in the back of the room, and so he asked if he could take just a few minutes and introduce himself to the city council and some of the residents that are here in attendance tonight. So we'll turn just a couple of minutes over him, and he can introduce himself and a little bit about, just a few minutes about his history, and everybody can put a face with a name.
Well, thanks, Andy, and thanks, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council and members of the audience. Again, my name is Steve Dush, and I'm very excited to start working here at the City of Imperial Beach. Most recently, I came from the city of Gainesville, Florida, so it's a little ways away from Imperial Beach. Not nearly as humid here. But I have a little over 20-some years of experience in community development. And I've worked both as a consultant and as an employee of cities across the country, and am very excited to be in Imperial Beach because of the untapped potential. I think in so many different ways, there's so many great things that are happening in the community. We heard a little bit about Councilmember Spriggs talk about Pond 20 that was at the Port Authority meeting yesterday, and some of the affinities that this community has, rich in its natural resources, are very uncommon with some of the communities up and along the coast. So I look forward to meeting with you. If there's anything I can do, I'd be happy to do so. And again, I just want to learn to listen in the beginning and try to help Imperial Beach achieve the vision that it has set forth in its comp plan and policies. So with that, I'll stop.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Welcome aboard, sir. I was also just reminded that I forgot the 4th of July fireworks. Apologize for that, but if you see Candy Younger and Tim O'Neill, they really did the legwork, and any other volunteers out there, we really, really thank you for all that. Thank you. Now on to public comment. Just a reminder that under the Brown Act, we cannot respond to your comments. The city manager will take notes, and he does a pretty good job at that. So first up, we have Josie Hermata.
Good evening, Pro Tem Bill Bray and council members. The reason I'm here today I am speaking on behalf
Excuse
of the
me,
Relay for Life team.
Josie, or Ms. Hermata, would you mind stating your
Oh, I'm sorry.
your place
I
of
live at
residence?
1243 Downing Street.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Today I just come to represent the Relay team, to personally remind you and invite you to come on August the 1st, opening day, which is when the survivors, which I'm this year, I can say I'm 40 years. And anyway, so to come to be part of this event, it has grown in the 4 years that I've done it here in Imperial Beach. Every year it grows. And I know you have a city team. So just come and enjoy part of it. The opening's at 9, but the survivors are the ones who walk the first lap. And then we'll have a breakfast. And it's really a nice, yummy breakfast for all the survivors. And we treat them royally. And then that night, if you've never been touched you will at 9 o'clock at night when the luminariums are lit. It is something to, it's breathless, and you just look at it. And I think about it all over the world. Has relay. There is 196 countries that do this. So when you do that, you think you're all over the world. At the same time, doing for the same thing is trying to find a cure for cancer. Then closing ceremonies is another emotion because you just stop and you reflect of what happened that day. You walked, you prayed, and you honored the caregivers as well, because those are the ones that are with you the whole time. So please, the community, please come and enjoy this wonderful crowd of people who care about those who are struggling. Because, and oh, our honorary this year will be, you remember Jose, the young man who had brain cancer, who went to Berry? He's going to be, he is our honorary person, even though he passed away. And Donna, the other person who had brain cancer as well, who was part of our team, there are our honorary for memories for this year. So please think about that day and hope to see all of you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Melly Perrin. I apologize if I mispronounced this. Is there Melly Perrin? Perron?
Hi, I'm Melly Perrone, and I live at 1270 11th Street. And in response to rumors, I hope they're rumors, that there's going to be another, these are dirty, another like discount grocery store maybe coming to Palm and 9th. I wrote a letter to Sudbury Properties and have been asked to read the letter that I wrote, and it's very short. So, but anyway, I wrote to Mr. Joe Madden, and I said, I am a longtime resident of Imperial Beach. I have a master's degree and a six-figure income. Contrary to the belief of non-residents of my great little town, there are many residents of Imperial Beach who are not homeless or of lower income. We have waited a long time for a higher-end national grocery store chain to come to our town. Something like a Trader Joe's, a Whole Foods, or even Sprouts would draw a better quality clientele than a grocery outlet. A better quality store would draw shoppers from Coronado and the Coronado Cays. This would also attract more tourism to Imperial Beach. I know that when I travel, I look for a recognizable store name in which to shop because I know and trust the quality. I would not shop at a grocery outlet even if it was next door. And I told them, please consider this plea to bring a higher quality grocery store to Imperial Beach. We have a beautiful boutique Marriott hotel with a Hilton on the way. We have spent a lot of time and money trying to improve our image. Let's not degrade it with another discount grocery store. That's it.
Thank you. Next, we have William Zidbier, Captain. Excuse me. Zidbick.
I'm Captain Zidbeck. I live at 1107 5th Street, Imperial Beach. I'm a 32-year resident of Imperial Beach, and I bought a home here in 1963, one block just south of the middle school, when there was a dairy, and my wife used to teach at Emory, had 2 kindergarten classes, 30 students without an assistant in the morning and the afternoon. We love this community. We retired here, and I just wanted to say that the Kids and Castles event that has been part of Sandcastle and now is part of the Sun and Sea event, which has been going on for 28 years, sponsored by the Optimist Club. I wanted to thank all the merchants of Imperial Beach for their support for the children over the years. We have a great community. We have wonderful people here who have enjoyed living in this community and supporting the children of this community, and I want to thank them for that. And I also want to give a special thanks to the new people who come to this community and have made it such a great one with the contributions of the 4th of July fireworks. Candy and her husband raised that money. The city has never put any money into a fireworks that I know of. The Port District has, and it brings great great, great pride to this community. And the Sandcastle community always had the fireworks. And for that, I wanted to thank publicly that wonderful effort where the citizens put up almost $25,000 for fireworks on the 4th of July. It's a real tribute to live in this community.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Chris Brown.
Okay, good evening. My name is Chris Brown, 1361 California Street. I came here to praise the 4th of July fireworks. It was great. Traffic control, we got them out early this year. It was great. My complaint is Tent City. There were so many tents up in that park. It was like a campground without any space between it. Camp were at Pure Plaza. Tents everywhere, on the beach, everywhere. That is not a campground. Neither is Pure Plaza. That's not a campground. Unsanitary, unsafe. We don't know what's going on in those tents. What if a fire broke out? It was bad. It was really bad. There was not room to walk. Kids could have been pulled into a tent, arrested. You don't know what was going to happen. So let's not let it happen next year. Let's clear that area. Let people stand there or put their chairs there, but not tents. It's unbelievable. So that's what I have to say. But the fireworks were great.
Thank you very much. Where are we going? We got consent. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt or approve consent calendar items 2.1 through, let's see, which one did you put? Through 2.7. Oh, no, excuse me. 2.1 minus 2.2 and 2.3 through 2.7.
That's correct.
And 2.9, excuse me. The motion is second, please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Dedina absent.
Go ahead, Mr. Spriggs.
Although we've approved it in the consent calendar, I'd just like to shout out a word of thanks and praise to our head of our administrative department, Doug Bradley, for putting into our agenda starting now a monthly report on the assets of the city and the management of the assets of the city. So that's a very nice addition. That was item 2. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you very much, sir. Next up, we've moved 5.4 up to the right after consent. So turn it over to you, Ed.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Bill Bray and City Council. My name's Ed Villa. I'm the management analyst. As management analyst, I have been tasked to work with the Parks and Recreation Committee by the city manager. Tonight, the Sports Park Collaborative of the Boys and Girls Club, Girls Softball League, and Little League will be giving you an update on the progress of Sports Park. With the passage of the 2-year budget cycle, we will be bringing a new set of agreements for the organizations to City Council at a later date, and this update is a prelude to that. Also of note, the next Parks and Recreation meeting, they will be reviewing a needs assessment survey so that we can get started right away on surveying to determine community needs and wants, and that will also be reported to you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Aaron Ruiz with the Boys and Girls Club, Matthew McCoy with the Girls Softball League, and Don Spicer with the Little League. And we're going to have Aaron start the presentation.
Good evening, City Council members, city staff. We wanted to take the time to thank you for giving us the opportunity to give you an update on what's going on at Sports Park. Since May of 2014, in partnership with Imperial Beach Little League, Imperial Beach Girls Softball, and the Boys and Girls Club, we've been managing the sports park complex for a little bit over a year now. On the map you see on the presentation, uh, let me specify and outline because there are 3 individual contracts, and we do work in partnership, but the 3 contracts cover the sports park complex. We'll start further south, and that is the Imperial Beach Little League. And Little League is operating the fields. They're operating their Little League program, and they're also making the fields available for any travel ball teams or anybody who is a resident or an outsider who wants to use the field. So they are the ones managing the baseball fields further south. If you head a little bit north, the softball fields, Imperial Beach Girls Softball is doing, running their same program. Also managing field rentals, any outside groups that would like to use the fields. We see senior groups, we see other leagues going on, tournaments on those fields, and we use those fields as well. Heading up closer to the recreation center, and we begin at the skate park. So the skate park, tot lot area, the picnic area, and the recreation center is managed by the Boys and Girls Clubs of South County. And that's where we will begin our presentation to give updates. We will begin on the recreation center side. So what is going on in the rec center? What is going on at Sports Park? That is the question. Well, there's lots of stuff going on. A lot of drop-in fun, and the drop-in fun is for all residents. The misconception is that the center is for members only, that it is only open for youth. The Sports Park Recreation Center is open for anybody to enjoy. Some of the drop-in fun activities include arts and crafts. We will concentrate on homework assistance when school is in session. We are directly across the street from Mar Vista High School, so we get a lot of influx of students there after school. So we want to make sure that homework assistance, tutoring, or even some small counseling is available for those students. We also have theme days, and theme days are really fun. It's summertime right now, and so I know last week we went over to Sports Park and we had a Wet and Wild day. And so you see a lot of water balloons. It is very hot. It's been hot as of late. So those are the types of activities that we want, not just members, but everybody who's here to enjoy. We hear a lot of visitors that are here, cousins, etc. We want them to enjoy what's going on in Imperial Beach. They even came up with a new game that was a dodgeball water balloon game. It was like Wet and Wild dodgeball. So you never know what you're going to come up with over at the sports park. But we need to highlight the games room, and the games room is important, not just in the Boys and Girls Club realm, but we see it at Sports Park as well, because when mom and dad are picking up their young one, or the guardian is picking them up, that's the time where they're able to spend those 5-10 minutes with them. It's important. Social recreation is very important for socializing amongst peers, but also that's the time where mom and dad just got off of work. They're picking up little Johnny, and that's where they're able to shoot some pool with him, play some ping pong. Sometimes they like to challenge the staff, even though they're not going to win. But that's an important time for them because that's when they bond. But as staff members, that's when we build a relationship with the parents, because that's when we get to know they're working all the time or what's going on in their lives. So the games room, it includes tournaments, and those are a lot of fun. One thing that we would like to highlight and see is that the arrow depicts what's going on, and that's our average daily attendance. When we opened our doors in late May of 2014, we were averaging about 22 students or residents coming into the sports park facility. Today, we are at 103 on average, and that includes the skate park, and we get a lot of the skate park visitors coming in, not just to buy some food, but also play some of these games. And if it gets hot, then they can play some indoor activities. So that is one of the things that we are most impressed with and most proud of, is that the attendance is rising, and that's something that we want to continue. Besides the youth programs, I did give you guys a handout, and there's some statistics about some of the rec classes. We're offering 22 different types of rec classes. Some of them that have been the most successful are ballet, hip hop, taekwondo, guitar, Zumba. These classes are available for youngsters from 2 years old all the way up to the adults. We also offer free classes. So not all of these classes will have a price tag or a fee attached to them, but we also offer free classes, and they may be senior classes. Uh, our Tai Chi class is one that we're very proud of. It's one that has grown, and I counted over 35 participants the other day. So it's very important not just to have these rec classes that have a fee, but also have others available for everybody to enjoy. So we've expanded our youth program. Not only are we serving our youth, but we're also serving our families and adults. Um, for adult recreation, it's the place to be on a Tuesday night for sure. And for most of the year, we have our softball league and our adult basketball league going on at the same time. So Sports Park is completely full. We are currently in our third season for co-ed softball. So we've had a total of 16 teams play co-ed softball. 10 different teams play adult basketball. We have well over 25 participants coming in and participating in Zumba. And Zumba is available for the stay-at-home or the working mom or the parents that are staying at home for whatever reason. So we're offering these classes not only in the morning, but also in the evening so that we're able to accommodate for all. One of the things that I have to mention is how these leagues are demonstrating how the residents are coming together. The 16 teams that are playing softball, these are the IB Forum, the Scoreboard, the Job Corps, K Pasta, the Boys and Girls Club, the city of Imperial Beach, who I'm proud to say is the only Boys and Girls Club win in co-ed softball. But these are the teams that are making up our leagues, and that's, I think, is the testament as to what's going on in the city of Imperial Beach. Our own residents, our own restaurants, our own organizations, they are the ones that are having fun out there on a Tuesday night. Finally, community outreach. We want to make sure that everybody knows and feels that they can count on the rec center being there for them. So we've had the privilege of hosting the Imperial Beach Elementary School dance. They had a scheduling conflict or space conflict. They made a simple phone call and we were able to operate. They had over 75 kids enjoying their 7th and 8th grade dance that night. It was a lot of fun. We have travel teams that will come in, basketball teams that want to use the facility to practice, more than welcome to do that. If it's raining, believe it or not, it rains sometimes here. And when it does rain, we've had like softball groups come in on a rainy day and still do their light conditioning because you can't miss that day if you have a tournament that weekend. And like I mentioned before, the Tai Chi class, the senior class that we have, that's a free class. It's run off of a grant, but that's a class that we offer for the residents at no charge. So we take a lot of pride in helping and serving anybody who needs us in the community. So we want all the community members to be able to rely on us and collaborate with us for any services that they need for Imperial Beach.
Thank you, Council and Pro Temp, Mayor. I'd like to talk about the girls softball side of the park. We have 250 registered players throughout the spring all-stars, girls fast pitch league, and the fall ball season. We had over 150 volunteers this past year, providing volunteer assistance, whether it be as coach, team moms, snack bar volunteers, even our military coming out, helping us out. This does not include the countless hours spent by the board of directors for the girls softball league to make sure we provide a quality experience for everyone involved. That's over 12,000 hours we calculated without compensation. Our league is dependent on volunteers. This past year, we brought back softball clinics. This helps new and returning coaches learn different drills to use in clarifying rules because it's always changing and evolving. Every year, something's new coming up, a different way of teaching kids how to do a better drill. It also helps the players with the fundamentals of the game. Imperial Beach softball is the home of the Seaside Smash tournament. We have had 66% increase in teams participating in this year. Leagues from Valley Mesa, North Park, Coronado, they all compete in this tournament. They also enjoy the beach and restaurants that we have here in IB. We are now playing interleague games with other leagues around San Diego County. This brings in new people to the community to experience all we have to offer for Imperial Beach. This past year, leagues were very impressed with our field conditions, the atmosphere you provided, and the level of competition. We have seen a 30% increase in growth in our T-ball registrations, introducing new players to the game of softball, as they are the future of our game. With social media, we are more visible to the community with our new partnerships with the Eagle Times, the local news, Ivy Collaborative Group, BiggerImperialBeach.com, and a new revamped our Facebook page. We have now more community support and are visible for our league. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, Don Spicer, I'm the president of the Imperial Beach Little League. This past spring season, we had 250 registered players. We had 35 volunteer managers, coaches, and team moms. We field 20 teams playing in range from 2 to 12. For our fall ball program, we rostered 8 teams, a total of 96 players, each team having 1 manager, 2 coaches, 1 team mom. Our winter ball teams interleague play with teams from Chula Vista, San Diego, and East Lake. Our league is managed by 15 volunteer board members who, along with many other volunteers, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, family friends, high school students, United States Coast Guard, over 250 volunteers have contributed over 18,000 hours this year, maintaining the fields, umpiring games, cleaning bathrooms, cleaning surrounding areas, mowing, weeding, painting, minor repairs, snack bar, and keeping our league running smooth. None of our volunteers get paid. That's 18,000 hours at no cost to anyone. The future of our league starts at our youngest players. These are our wiffle ball players. Wiffle ball players who are 2, 3, and 4. This year we had 2 teams with 24 players. We plan to expand to 6 teams with 72 players and hope to accomplish this by reaching out to all of our preschools. 2 years ago, we ran a pilot program for the Challenger Division, which had 36 players. This division is for players with special needs. We plan on restarting this division this coming year. We will reach out to our special needs teachers, volunteers such as Girl Scouts, our league players, and the community to assist in this special program. I just want to say one thing about the Challenger Division. I had a dad come up to me during one of the games and he had tears in his eyes. And I said, "What's the matter?" And he said, "I just never thought in my lifetime I would ever see my son on a baseball field playing baseball." And that just hit me right here. So that's something that we really want to bring back. By the city giving us the ability to schedule the fields as allowing us to look at hosting regional events, such as Tournament of Champions, Little League All-Stars, Major League Baseball sponsored pitch and play event, allowing us to offer player, manager, and coaches clinics. This year we hosted the Tournament of Champions, games and All-Stars, which included teams from South County. 17 games, over 340 players participated, drawing approximately 800 spectators to these games. You stuck my papers together. Sorry. We are looking at having events other than baseball, such as family movie night, Easter egg hunt, chili cook-off. Being part of a collaborative allows us to expand all of our programs. Our league wishes to thank you for taking time to go to the field on opening day and on closing day, watch a baseball game, seeing our players and our volunteers at work. Thank you.
Okay, so as a reminder, we will be bringing the contract up at a later date, but if you guys have any questions, they're available for you.
Just a second. Madam Clerk, do we have any speaker slips on this issue?
No speaker slips submitted.
Mr. Patton? Or-
Well, this presentation had Mr. Villa's name all over it. I've never seen him do a presentation, but I have to say, this is amazing. I've been waiting to see where we're sitting with all this, and I had all these questions I wanted to ask, and very comprehensive presentation. Boys and Girls Club, amazing. I mean, what's going on there? Sports Park, going from 22 kids a day in 2014 to 100, over 100 now. It's amazing. Girls softball, Little League, 250, 600 kids, all those volunteers, and all those people, they need to eat. You know, they probably go to our restaurants and the snack bar to you know, get fed and help out our community. But this is what our city's about, and I think this is just I can't say enough. And then I have to mention that the dance at IB Charter with the boys, and where was that? At Sports Park, right? Yeah, I dropped my son off there, and he's in 7th grade, and it was like the prom. These kids were dressed up, and my poor son, he's walking around like, it was amazing. The special needs team is get that going again. That sounded very special. And for Mr. Villa, if you could put some of these slides on our website, I think if you're not here, if you're not watching this, I think this is great information that people need to see. So thank you, everyone. Well done. Thank you.
Any- Councilmember Bragg.
Too many buttons up here. You know, just to kind of remind us how important this issue is in this community, just look around. Most of the people in the audience, I think, are here for this issue. And I look around and I see, you know, some old faces and new faces. And so that's very encouraging to me. This is an issue that we're trying so hard to get right. And when I hear this report, it makes me realize that we're on the right track. You know, this the Challenger division, Mr. Spicer, is incredible. It's something that we've got to continue with. That is something that as a council that we had discussed was activities for our disabled youth and our disabled seniors. So in this reporting, that's what I'm seeing is that our partners in this issue are really listening, not to just us, but to the needs of the community. The social recreation that you talked about is a component that is critically important for us. You know, maybe you're not physically active, but you can be mentally active. So we are on the right track with this. Was just absolutely amazing. My only request is that I could have some hard, you know me, I like a hard copy of something because this issue is coming back and, you know, I also have a suggestion of pickleball. And in one community, and it was in La Mesa, they had built pickleball courts, but the headline, it was kids and seniors having a ball. So it's that intergenerational activity that I think is something that is one of the areas that we could really be looking at. Gentlemen, you have just outdone yourselves this evening with your reporting. I'd like to thank you. It was great.
Mr. Spriggs.
Well, my colleagues have said it all. There's only one thing I think I would add, in addition to congratulating you on a great report and great activities and growing and benefiting our community. This is the kind of thing that makes a community, and it doesn't make the news, right? Remember where we were a couple years ago? You know, all in the news and everything about what to do with Sports Park and all that. Well, I think this is a tribute to all of the hard work that's been done by the the committees, the volunteers, you guys as leaders. To see where we are now compared to where we were a couple years ago warms my heart, and I'm really very, very pleased and happy with the progress that we've made and all the wonderful things that are going on in the sports park. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, all of you. Appreciate it. Keep it nice and short. Now moving right along on reports, we have 5.1 and 5.2. We have Mr. Levine.
Mayor, Pro Tem, council members, I'd like to introduce to you two Life Scouts working on their Eagle rank in Troop 53 or Crew 2053, as you see on their shoulders. They are here to propose to you two separate Eagle projects, but it's in the same area. And rather than having a repeat for the two boys, I'm asking them to do a joint presentation, and they're seeking your approval of their project. Go ahead, guys.
Hi, I'm Oliver Herbs.
It's not it. It's not the presentation.
One moment, please.
Let's go back. Minimize this. When you click this on, you click the wrong one. Yep. All right, gentlemen, sorry.
Fred and I are both Life Scouts in Troop 53, and we're both seniors at St. Augustine High School. The project site is Sports Park, and it's in the parking lot, and it's little like parking lot dividers. This is what they look like now with the grass and the tree in the middle, and we want to make them look like this right here with the decomposed granite and then rock for decoration.
All right, so what we're actually planning on doing, first we're going to be removing the grass and underlying soil. It's about 5 inches deep. And after we do that, we will level the area and staple some weed blocking fabric down on it so nothing grows up through the xeriscape terrain we are making. After we staple that down, we will fill the area with decomposed granite and desert gold sand. It's going to be a mix of those two, and that's generally what is used to make these kind of xeriscape terrains. The tree in the center will remain there, and the irrigation system that is currently on the medians will be reconfigured so that only the tree will be being watered, so as we don't waste water in this attempt to save it. To make the islands more aesthetically pleasing, not just dirt and a tree, we are going to contour 2 mounds out of the decomposed granite and the desert gold sand to make 2 mounds. Then on each mound will be a decorative boulder, so it will look very pleasing. How we're doing it volunteer-wise, the scouts and parents of Troop 53 have always come in very strongly to help the Eagles with their projects, and I'm very confident that we will get the same response for our project. What we'll need to reiterate the actual materials, we are going to need decomposed granite, the desert gold sand, weed blocking fabric, and some decorative boulders. And for tools, normally the scouts and the parents in the past have been able to bring the tools, but if it comes to our attention that we will not have what we need, Oliver and I will be sure to provide these tools. So we hope that you will approve our project, and thank you for listening.
Madam Clerk, do we have any speaker slips?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Do we have any questions? Councilmember Patton.
First of all, thanks for presenting. I know it's tough getting up here in front of all this crowd. I think we're slowly getting to zero-scaping all these medians, and I like what you said. If we don't have the tools, we will get them, right? You'll find a way, right? Okay, you'll find a way. And do you anticipate any major problems in this?
None come to mind really. I'm sure there might be some problems that I don't expect, but I think we'll be able to handle it.
So you have plan A, B, C, and D already. When I do a project, I always try to think of what might go wrong and what might go wrong. But thankfully, you have this great landscaping expert here to guide you. So anyway, I'm just messing with you. Thanks for being here.
I had a question if you don't mind, and I agree though. It's kind of like with the presentation, it's Murphy's Law. You guys have heard about Murphy's Law? Of course, because you're scouts, and scouts are always prepared for Murphy. I'm wondering about the rocks. In the picture, they look pretty, that one rock looked pretty heavy. Where are you going to get them from, and how are you going to move them onto the different sites, and without injuring yourselves or somebody carrying them?
We were hoping that the city of Imperial Beach would provide for the materials. As for actually physically transporting the rocks, we'd probably utilize wheelbarrows, strong, burly men. And we would make sure that none of the younger scout volunteers would be handling the decorative boulders.
Thank you very much. That was a very nice answer.
Councilmember Bragg.
Thank you. Mr. Levine, have you given any, is there any consideration as to what the actual water savings would be on an annual basis? I know it's a small spot, but the city, we need to lead the way when we're asking people to zero-scape. So I'd also like to possibly, again, Mr. Villa is in the audience. This is a great project for our website. Letting our community know that we take this as seriously as we're asking our community to. So do you have any idea on an annual?
No, I really don't have. I suppose the change of the nozzle probably has a gallons per minute difference in it. It might give us some indication of it. I would also say that it also reduces other kind of maintenance because we generally don't have to repair the irrigations much. Don Spicer doesn't have to do the weeding and mowing and those kinds of things as he's taking care of the park. I think it's Mr. Spicer that's doing that, but somebody's doing it. So there's other maintenance savings that goes with that.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for your efforts in helping the city of Imperial Beach reduce our water costs. And again, Mr. Levine, your troop has just been a great partner with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
So without any other discussion, I entertain a motion to adopt 5.1 on the agenda. Authorize the city manager to sign the Eagle project plan for Oliver Herbs. We have a motion? Second? Please vote. And also I'd like to entertain a motion.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Dedina absent.
Get ahead of myself there. Entertain a motion to adopt 5.2, authorizing the city manager to sign the Eagle project plan for Fred Smith. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Dedina absent.
Off to public hearings, item 4.1. I'll declare the public hearing open. Mr. Foltz will give a report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bill Bray. Get this ready. The project before you tonight is a mixed-use project at 951 Seacoast Drive, and the staff recommendation is to adopt Resolution 2015-7606 that would approve the project. The rationale is that the project should benefit the city by providing residential units to help meet housing demand throughout the city, which is something that cities throughout the county are doing. In addition, it would provide new visitor-serving ground floor commercial and retail space. The project was originally reviewed twice by the Design Review Board, once on March 19th and once on March 26, 2015, followed by a review by the City Council on May 20th and June 3rd, 2015. So the project was originally reviewed at four separate meetings. Following those meetings, it was discovered that the title company who prepared the notice packet for the applicant didn't include some of the occupants within the 100-foot radius. So due to that, the intent was not to omit any members of the public from commenting on the project. So the project was re-noticed and considered again by the Design Review Board on June 30th and by City Council tonight. At the June 30th Design Review Board meeting, the Design Review Board recommended approval of the project's design with a 3-0 vote. The project's in the CMU2 Seacoast Commercial and Mixed Use Zone. And this is a project site at Seacoast and Elder Avenue. This is the project site. Property to the north, properties to the south, to the east, and to the west. This is the ground floor site plan for the project. It's proposing a little over 2,000 square feet of commercial space that would be accessed from Seacoast Drive. 3 residential units would be provided above the ground floor. 1 commercial parking space is proposed for the project. The reason 1 is being proposed is because there are parking spaces within, or parking lots within 1,000 feet, which is identified in our commercial zoning requirements, that if there are parking spaces within 1,000 feet, it could recoup some of the parking as long as there's transportation to management strategies associated with that. The applicant is providing on a permanent basis bike racks that would provide for bicycle parking. In addition, they have to enter into an agreement with the city that would identify some type of mitigating factors for alternative methods of transportation for the commercial unit. That would be processed at a separate time, but it would be related to perhaps providing bus passes for employees, bicycles for employees. These types of different things are items that would help alleviate the use of vehicles. 5 residential parking spaces are proposed that would access off the alley. 3 are required. So they're exceeding the parking requirement for the residential. This is the second floor plan where 2 of the residential units would access. And the third floor plan where the 3rd unit would access. This is the roof plan for the project site where a roof deck and some landscaping is proposed. In addition, there's a mechanical shelter that's proposed at the northwest corner of the building. Again, that would house mechanical equipment. The roof deck would also have an elevator shaft and also stairwell enclosure. The project's proposing a height of 35 feet. The requirement for height limits in the CMU2 zone is 30 feet on the west portion of Seacoast Drive and 30 feet on the east side, though you can increase it to 35 with a conditional use permit and if you meet incentives provided within the municipal code. You have to provide 2 incentives. The project is proposing 2 incentives, one of which would be that 25% of the residential units has to provide 3-bedroom housing. And for this project, 100% of the units, the 3 units that are proposed, are each providing 3-bedroom. In addition, at least 75% of the usable ground floor area has to provide commercial use. And the entire usable area on the ground floor of this project is providing commercial use. So those are the 2 incentives that are proposed for this project. And the 35-foot limit, for everybody's reference, is at this location here. Beyond the height limit, the code that's been in place since at least 1994, maybe before that, has allowed for elements to exceed that height limit. And it defines those elements as equipment shelters, so shelters that would house mechanical equipment or other equipment required to operate the building, stairwell and elevator enclosures, and also parapet walls that are required by law, such as guardrails if there were to be a roof deck, which is what's proposed for this project. In addition, the project's proposing a 13.5-foot floor-to-ceiling dimension for the commercial ground floor instead of the typical 15. The reason the applicant is requesting an administrative adjustment is because they are proposing to have at least a 9-foot floor-to-ceiling dimension for the floors above, which is a typical standard for a residential living. And it's similar to what was done for a project nearby. Now, with regards to the administrative adjustment, the code allows for a 10% adjustment of this code, which is why the 13.5 feet is being proposed. 10% of 15 is a 1.5 feet, and that's the dimension provided here. In addition, the project is proposing to provide or extend the roof overhang 1 foot into the public right-of-way. Typically, buildings can locate on the property line and then or on a setback, and then an overhang of approximately 2 feet is allowed per our code. This location doesn't require any setback. So for aesthetic purposes, and because the project's being required to dedicate portions of their property to the city for accessibility reasons on the ground floor, they're proposing to extend that overhang 1 foot into the right-of-way. And these are the north and south elevations. And this is a rendering of the project if it were to be built. At the last council meeting, the discussion was made about the design, about the using natural wood and altering this pop-out element so that there's wood on the side and copper on the front, which has been incorporated into this design. Another view of the building. And this is a rendering of what it would look like at night. The applicants added various lights so that it would provide ambient lighting to serve to purpose so that it can help light up the sidewalk as well. One of the issues that was brought up during the public comment period was any safety issues that may be brought up because of the project. Staff did meet with public safety for the fire department and the sheriff department. With regards to the fire department, because there are no encroachments into the required roadway dimensions, the alley's not being obstructed, the street's not being obstructed, it wouldn't impact any access for public safety. So emergency vehicles would operate as usual, as normal, and other buildings in the area are also located on the property lines. In addition, there'd be no additional line of sight obstructions for emergency access. With regards to safety for pedestrians or bicycle or other vehicles, it was noted that north and southbound traffic on Seacoast Drive that would head into the alley would naturally be able to see any pedestrians or bicycles or vehicles that were in the alley. So there'd be no issue entering the alley from the north or south. Heading east and west on the alley, however, because we're in the United States and we drive on the right-hand side of the road, vehicles naturally would lend themselves to drive to the center and right-hand side of the road. So if they were looking left at any pedestrians where the building would locate, there'd be this natural buffer where they'd be able to see people entering that intersection. In addition, there's already an existing red curb, so there'd be no cars parked at that location, and the applicants, if it were to be approved, the applicant would be required to provide a fire hydrant. So there would always be that red curb, so there'd be no vehicles in that location. And it was also noted that in the Seacoast Drive area, it's one of the areas with the lowest citations because vehicles drive inherently lower in that area because they know it's a beach area where people are walking around and using their bikes and looking for parking spots or what have you. So naturally, people drive slower. So it's a more safe area with regards to vehicular access. With that, the options to the council is to receive the report and adopt staff's recommendation, or approve the project with modifications by the city council, disapprove the project with specific findings, or to continue the public hearing to a later date. And that concludes staff's report.
Well, we have quite a few speaker slips here. Would you like to take questions first, or do you want to go ahead and hear from the public? Okay. Because we have such a large amount of speaker slips on this issue, I can either, the two groups, for the most part, it's two major groups, can designate one speaker and I can give them as much time as they like, or I'm going to have to limit the comment time reduce the comment time in order so that we can get through this a little bit quicker. Yeah, we'll reduce it to 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just go ahead and reduce it to 2 minutes. We'll start off with Terry Johnson. Okay, so you have 4 minutes.
I have 4 minutes, and it won't take that long because this makes me.
I'm gonna have to limit it to
It's
just
fine.
only 4 minutes.
I get
So-
so nervous I can't talk that long.
No problem.
Is it time to start? Yeah. Okay. Good evening. We're here tonight to talk about the development on the end of Alder Avenue. I prepared a letter. Honestly, public speaking makes me really nervous, so I'm just going to confirm my letter and a few key points out of it. I recently attended the design review board meeting for the proposed project at 951 Seacoast Drive. My original concerns motivating attendance at this meeting were quickly overshadowed by my shock at how you've modified our zoning in the last few years and the city's current strategy for further violating our general plan through issuing conditional use permits. Zoning laws are subordinate to the general plan and are intended to be a framework for implementation. The most prominent goal stated in our general plan is identified on page I-8. The overriding goal for Imperial Beach shall be the retention of the quality of life and atmosphere of a small beach-oriented town. A community that is not overcrowded or exclusive like many California beach communities, a town with a human scale and a relaxed pace of life. Taking a multi-story condo complex and dropping it next to a neighborhood of primarily 1- and 2-story existing structures with several single-family homes does not conform with the stated goal. Recent zoning revisions, combined with the proliferation of conditional use permits this council is issuing, are detrimental to our neighborhood and community. This situation is essentially moving the high-density condo development we have now on Seacoast Drive north along the entire Seacoast corridor. Your city website states, because this town is one of the last untouched beach towns in Southern California, we are known as Classic Southern California. The last remaining Classic Southern California of our beach neighborhood, with the exception of Argus Village, is between Ebony Avenue and Dade Avenue. What makes the neighborhood classic is the variety of interesting low-rise development. Giant buildings like the proposed MF 1149 Kegel and other similar projects in this area are not consistent with the existing neighborhood or the stated goals of the general plan. I did find it ironic when your city planner presented aspects of Argus Village, like no setbacks, as a good precedent for new development. In Tyler's defense, he wasn't here in the early 90s for the zoning wars. When Argus was built, it was a real catalyst for what should you call a zoning war that went down in the early 90s and resulted in our current general plan and resulted in the zoning that has been in place since the 90s. A group of residents, including the McCoys, the Lindleys, Cashes, Putlands, and Careys, worked hard to essentially overturn the existing establishment and elect people who were instrumental in developing our current general plan. Because of these people's commitment and hard work, our community has enjoyed about 20 years of moderate development. Unfortunately, this has made many of us, including myself, complacent with respect to keeping tabs on the city's activities. This project is definitely a wake-up call for those of us who were caught sleeping when you implemented the CMU2 zoning. And attending the design review board meeting motivated me to read and understand your new zoning ordinance, which granted there were small changes, but those small changes gave you the ability to issue these conditional use permits. So these are my specific concerns regarding 1149 Kegel. These concerns also apply to this project at the end of Evergreen, which you've already approved. Specifically, Tyler pointed out, Chapter 17, 27070 of your city's Imperial Beach Zoning Code states, properties east of Seacoast Drive shall have a height limit not to exceed 3 stories and 35 feet with approval of conditional use permit that demonstrates compliance with the following. Tyler brought up the incentives. That's part B of that. That's the second piece. The first piece they have to comply with to obtain a conditional use permit are side yard setbacks and or step backs have been incorporated into the project to protect street end and public views towards the ocean. The proposed project has no setbacks or step backs on Elder Avenue or the alley. There's a 38.5 foot tall, I know you say 35 foot, but by the time you got the parapet, it's 38.5. The developer can either integrate the appropriate setbacks and step backs, or they can comply with the 30-foot height limit. Thank you.
Next up, we have Ben Swearingen. Sorry. If somebody would like to give up your time, yes, 4 minutes is max.
No, I don't need it. Okay. This was sort of extemporaneous for me. I didn't come planning to speak tonight. I just heard there was a zoning issue that was important to the community and was educated very rapidly. Just arrived about 20 minutes ago. So my comments will be brief. I just want to say, apart from a pretty beautiful building, a little gaudy with the lighthouse overlooking me, it reminds me of something I studied in anthropology about how they build prisons and how they have this 360 view thing. But apart from that, that's my personal opinion. My concern with this is this setback issue. Are we setting a precedent that's really going to turn all of Seacoast into one giant wall of buildings? Much of it, you could argue, is like that already. And so maybe that's the point of view that people have had in approving this project, you know, and the modernization aspect, which, you know, is nice sometimes. But I just want to second Terry's comments that I've only been here 10 years, but my attraction to this town was its small town, local feel, and that the community had a sense that it was theirs. And I'm all for the modernization, the development, the bringing in modern amenities and updating and upgrading things in this town. But I also hope that we work really hard to preserve the community aspect, the family-oriented design of our neighborhoods. And just making sure that we don't rush into things with development and dealing with people who want to do commercial development here.
Sir, please wrap it up. Your time has expired.
Thank you. So that's just my 2 cents, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Dan Crosby. And I apologize. Just make sure you state your name and your address. I've been forgetting that part of it.
I'm Dan Crosby, and I live at 144 Elder, like a couple buildings back from where this is proposed. And I'm born and raised in Imperial Beach. I've lived here 36 years, and the whole feel is local, small, homey town, and that doesn't really look like local, small, homey town that I grew up in, and it's a huge change. The bigger issues for me is like, if you're building edge to edge, it is going to cause a safety issue, you know, view wise. And then Argus Village is right here back to back. Now you have 2 back to back. It's like creating a tight corridor. I've been almost hit in the alley multiple times already because there's view issues when you come out of Argus Village, you go up the alley where I live. Now you're going to narrow that by 20 plus feet. It's nice to bring new things into town and make it look better or whatever, but when you set the precedence of that edge to edge, it's just going to create a wall effect all the way down Seacoast. It's going to be the new look, and it's going to price people like myself out of town. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Randy. Is this Putland?
Hi, Council Randy Putland, 20 Ebony Avenue. You know, you know, it's tough because I know a lot of people have worked hard on this. And I mean, you know, I feel for, you know, the staff who's, you know, they're trying to get business down there and they've done a lot. But I mean, when we had the height limit, you know, 26 feet residential back in the day and 30 feet, I never imagined that they could twist it so fast to go, close to 40 feet. If that's 38 and a half feet with a parapet wall, and you have people up there, they're obviously going to get hot in the sun because it gets hot up there. They're going to put umbrellas up there. So where's the line in the sand for height? That's a tough one. Um, you know, uh, you know, that to me, it's going to be, well over 40 feet, how I feel. That mechanical building on the north end, the rooftop, it looks more like a roof than a mechanical. What's that's pretty big for an air conditioner. I saw the elevator shaft and I saw the stairway in the back. So that's another issue. Um, no setbacks to me, and you know, taking away the open space. In the old days, you had to have 50%. You had to have some landscaping, some trees. I can't even tell if those trees are on public property or on private property. I don't know, but I can't tell from the rendering. Um, let's see. Another thing that I've seen happen in the past is that these people come in and they build these things, these condos, and build them to residential. And the next thing I know, we're getting weeklies and vacationers by the weekend, and I'm wondering, you know, what the legality is of that. If you guys know you're building it residential, and then another 3 or 4, a year or two goes by, and all of a sudden you're collecting TOT on it. I don't know,
Sir,
that line. That's in
time
the
is
sa-
expired.
Oh, that's expired. Darn it.
Okay, you have an extra 2 minutes. And
Okay.
what's your name, sir?
Um, yeah, I know. Yeah, we got a big hit here. So, um, there was a few things. Terry did a good job. She covered a lot of things that were on my mind, but Dana did too. I mean, the mission statement, maintain and enhance Imperial Beach, classic Southern California beach-oriented community with a safe small town family atmosphere, rich in natural and cultural resources. I'm just worried that we're going to have this huge 40-foot wall from IB Boulevard to Palm Avenue all the way down, and the corridors in the streets. If everybody has no setbacks, the streets are going to be like a tunnel to me. How I feel, you get out there, it's got a good feel cruising your bike around and going to the local barbecues, on the weekends. So anyway, that's a worry with me, with no setbacks on the side, on either side, and I think it is a safety issue too in that alley. Susie Cash, 10 Ebony, she wrote a letter, so I'm going to try to read it here if I can. Dear council members, IB has the distinction of being the most southwesterly city in the continental United States. It also advertises a classic California city feeling, 52 Woody. On our beachfront, though, innovation and now the opportunity, we have a chance to help cultivate that classic image by knocking down the things limit. By knocking down the height limit. I wish she wrote better. Knocking down the height limit of the project. Look at the new Coronado Brewing Company as a perfect example of what it can be done to beautify and have a nice front. Does this fit in the height of our 52 image of what a classic town really looks like? We have to make up our minds now on this project. Thank you very much.
Elizabeth Shapiro. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Okay. Mr. Heno donates time. Okay. Thank you.
I'm Elizabeth Shapiro, and I live at 135 Elder Avenue. Variances, CUPs, and bonuses are not guarantees or rights, but are instead options when the trade-offs make sense, when the losses to others are outweighed by the gains to others. That's the reason that they're set up. In this case, the benefits from the CUP and bonuses are far outweighed by the losses to neighbors, to the community, and to future opportunities. In looking at the rendering, I understand they're talking about having some setbacks on Seacoast, and they show all the beautiful pictures of Seacoast Drive, but it looks like on the Elder Avenue side, It's either to the sidewalk or maybe within 1 foot of the sidewalk. Each and every other building on the block is set back at least 3 feet. This allows for the potential of widening the sidewalks at a future date. And with the increasing number of visitors, as well as the huge surges of people that we have on the sidewalks on this block during major events at Pier Plaza, it may very well be highly desirable to widen the sidewalks in the future. But having just one building that does not maintain that 3 foot or more setback not only cheapens the aesthetics of the neighborhood, bringing down its overall value, but it also greatly diminishes the option of widening the sidewalks, an option that has been carefully maintained over the decades for the future. In the past 2 decades, Imperial Beach made the decision to grow and develop with great restraint and discipline regarding the height of buildings and setbacks. When that decision was first made, it was probably unimaginable by most that someday, if this restraint continued consistently over time, the city would be the home to a beautiful Marriott Autograph Hotel, or that it is likely soon to be the home of a Hilton Curio Collection Hotel, which is a very high-end hotel, along with the TOT opportunities more upscale hotels provide, far more than any little retail shop. They were attracted to that classic California look. It's very hard to find a place to build with that value. Most beach communities are under constant pressure to build projects just a little bit higher, just a little bit closer to the sidewalk. But those that exercise great discipline in maintaining open spaces, setbacks, and height limitations have reaped the rewards in terms of higher home values, nicer hotels, and overall greater aesthetics. Imperial Beach bravely set its sights on this goal. I know that some of you were in on that, and stuck to its guns, and finally is now seeing positive returns from these choices. It seems a shame to now place a building in such a prominent spot in town with bonuses that will end up as net negatives for the neighborhood, the neighbors, the community, and the future. When I first saw the drawings for this building, I was excited as it looked like it could have been an improvement in keeping with the neighborhood. But upon closer examination, it disrespects the block of Elder Avenue on which it sits, a block in which a huge financial investment of redevelopment has taken place over the past 20 years, with nearly every single home on that block having been greatly remodeled or completely rebuilt based upon the expectation of continued disciplined maintenance of height and setback limitations. This project also diminishes aesthetic values on Seacoast Drive, as others have pointed out. The drawing shows the development next to a big grassy field on Elder Avenue. In reality, the highest points of this development will literally tower over the quaint 2-story homes that sit adjacent to it. It is inappropriate to have a building, the tallest parts of which sit 38 or 40 feet high or more in height, set all the way to the sidewalk in a block where so much expensive investment has taken place based upon aesthetics that include low heights and setbacks. Less than 80 feet from this building is residential zoning where one cannot even run an Airbnb. Also, the bonuses of buildings to the sidewalk and higher heights diminish the long-term TOT opportunities for maybe, future nice hotels. We could really become something special based upon the aesthetics that we have developed.
Ma'am, your time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph Fallon. Do we have a Joseph Fallon?
Hi, my name is Joseph Fallon. I live at 129 Daisy Avenue. I've been an Imperial Beach resident since the late 80s, and I've watched it change greatly, and mostly for the better. But when you start building giant structures like this right on the beach, you are really taking away from what IB has still to offer compared to other beach towns in San Diego and along the rest of the Southern California coast. It's not a good fit for here, and especially when you build it out to the edge of the sidewalk and you have no setback and you're densifying an area where you're going to provide 5 parking spots for a residence that will house potentially 9 people. Typically, in my experience, the people who are going to move into this place is probably 3 Navy guys, especially when you consider the fact that the SEAL team base is going to be expanding down here to Imperial Beach, and there'll be more Navy population living here. You're talking about 3 single male individuals, each with their own vehicles. Nobody's going to have a place to park. It's going to take away from the feel of Seacoast. As a, fairly young person, and I've been in Imperial Beach my whole life, I plan to stay here and hopefully be able to afford a home here one day. And by doing this, you're really taking what we have as a possibility for us away. I've grown up with Councilmember Bragg's son Jeffrey, and you've seen me since I was a little kid here, and I would love to continue to be here. But with things like this, it's taken away from what we have as our possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Veronica Archer.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members, thank you for hearing us today. I'm Veronica Archer. I live at 151 Elder Avenue. I've enjoyed Imperial Beach for 27 years. We purchased our house 14 years ago. I live there with my husband and 2 small children. I'm in a 2-story house. It was built in the mid-90s. And I understand that we're going to have development, but I don't agree with the CUP. This is going to take, I'm on the south side, halfway down the block. This will take out my view of the part of the pier and of the ocean on the north side of the pier. I'm willing to accept that when they're meeting the zoning height requirements, but the CUP, if I have to lose additional view, which I'm going to because of CUP, my home has now been devalued at the benefit of this construction project, and I just think that's wrong. If they meet the required zoning height requirements, that's fair. That's all fair game. We know that there's going to be new development in town. So that's my big issue with that. And also, so I serve on our City of Imperial Beach Tidelands Advisory Committee. So we had an entire meeting dedicated to talking about a restroom and the look of the restroom and for it to actually blend into Imperial Beach. So it wouldn't be an eyesore. There's some great concept ideas that we discussed and we saw. And then I see this and I just don't understand. And I know I'm coming in at the 11th hour. I didn't come to the earlier meetings where some of this design was probably discussed. It's an attractive building. I don't think it fits into Imperial Beach. I think it's already been stated, and I just want to back up those statements that I don't see it fitting well into our community. I think it's kind of a sad addition, actually. And with small children, I do have the same safety concerns, but it's, and actually, if you don't mind me, I'm actually going to jump back to an earlier topic when they talked about the sports park. I didn't realize they were going to discuss that, and I just want to throw something out real quick. The sports park is, can I not do that?
Sorry, your time's up.
Okay, I'll send you guys an email.
Darren Johnson. No, sir. We'll start when you're ready.
Really, I'm not starting the clock, but this affects us.
You have a donated time. Who donated the time? What's your name, ma'am? Raylan. Okay, thank you very much. Whenever you're ready.
Don't start the clock. This affects us forever. And you're limiting us to 4 minutes to try to communicate everything. It's impossible. It's unacceptable. Start the clock. All right. So I had a lot of things I want to nicely go through. Don't have time for that. Let's jump in. I'm trying to be mellow, but you got me agitated. From my looking at this and getting into this, and I went to the design review board meeting, it looks to me like there's 5 variances: 0 lot, overhangs, 35 feet, parking, and commercial height of 13.5 feet, under 15. This structure does not exist without those variances. You follow the code as is. If you follow the general plan, as you should, this would be an acceptable building. It would be designed correctly. It would fit our community. But you're giving 5 variances to allow this to be close off the end of our street, to be a giant wall, a barrier. It's unacceptable. So let's get down to brass tacks. General plan. My wife already pointed out. Everything, ordinance zonings are subordinate to the general plan. Okay, so I hear a lot of people saying, well, this is legal. Actually, it's not. It's not in line with the general plan. Overriding goal for Imperial Beach shall be the retention of the quality of life and atmosphere of small beach oriented town. That's the general plan. This will adversely affect our quality of life. I wanted to go into parking. It's been grazed, barely brought up. It says there's enough parking for the owners of the residential. We haven't addressed the retail or restaurant or whatever might go in there. There are codes and amount of spaces required. That's going to be bypassed because there's two 500-foot, two off-site parkings 500 feet away. But the reality is they're pay parking. Nobody wants to pay for parking. They're going to cruise around the streets, create more congestion. It adversely affects our quality of life. It creates safety hazards for our kids trying to cross the street to go to the beach. It's endless, but I don't have time to get into that. What I need to get to, because this is the, probably one of the biggest pieces, and I wish we could get into the other stuff, is in the general plan, the visual quality of the city environment shall be preserved and enhanced for the aesthetic enjoyment of both residents and visitors and the economic well-being of the community. Projects should be designed so there's a harmonious relationship with adjoining uses. Structures should relate to neighborhood structures, both and adjacent to the development, and not create a harsh contrast with scale, style, or color. 3-story structures adjacent to existing 1- and 2-story structures shall be designed in a way to respect the scale of 1- and 2-story structures. Such designs could include wider side yard setbacks for the 2nd and 3rd story, hip roofs, and similar features. Development should be designed to respect and enhance the views of this and the safety of the passerby. Monotonous designs appear denser than ones of equal density, which are varied. Therefore, the following should be given consideration. Uniformly repetitious building and modules and unbroken expanses of wall should be avoided. Balance and coordinate a variety of height and materials and colors should be encouraged. Setbacks of buildings should be varied. Developments shall be designed with an eye to safety without giving the appearance of a fortress or sea of concrete or asphalt. The front of this, they applied the general plan. They put the step backs on it. The side of it, if you would be so kind, show the rendering of the elder side. That's the back. We need to talk about that too. That side. That's up against the sidewalk, goes straight up. The railing's 35 feet plus 4 feet, 39 feet, but even behind that is the stairwell, which is covered. We shouldn't even be covering that. We should have that open. But that's 40 some odd feet. That's a giant wall right there.
Sir, your time is up.
No, my time's not up.
Sir.
That violates the view down the street, which is against the code.
Please, sir.
You are open
I'm
to
calling a recess.
litigation. You are exposing yourself. And I should be allowed as a citizen. No, he's limited us to 4 minutes. It affects us the rest of our life, but we can't even make the point that needs to be made.
Take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll reconvene. call the meeting back to order. Madam Clerk, please take roll.
Councilmember Patton.
Here.
Councilmember Bragg.
Here.
Councilmember Spriggs.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bill Bray.
Here.
Mayor Dedina is absent.
Okay, moving right along. We have Laura Robbins.
My name is Laura Robbins, and I live at 130 Evergreen. And I feel like a little deja vu that I was here before, and it's the same railroad again. And I begin to realize that I think the council is representing the developers and not the community. I think it would be so simple when you talk to developers saying, yes, we want you to respect a setback. Yes, we want you to respect the plan or something. In some cases, this would require eliminating one unit or condensing a unit, but it just seems like you're working for the other side. Developers come and they build and they sell and they go. And yet we're stuck with all this stuff after it's built. The other thing that's bothering me is, you say parking. You know what parking is like on the weekends here? It's So, and then you allow people to go on riding carts and these bicycles now on a street that has no access point. I just think it's really not in the best interest. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Irene Bonbon. Sorry, Irene. She had to leave. Okay. Oh, you're there. Okay. Just please state your name and your place of residence.
On 8th Street, 754 9th. Oh wait, 754 9th Street. Sorry. I'm looking at the aesthetics and the aesthetics of the building. It's beautiful. The natural wood, the copper, the stone. It's actually a lot more pleasing. That's what's there now. In this case, also, when I heard of this, the very first time I heard of this, I really did think, wow, nice things are happening in Imperial Beach. I lived in South San Diego my whole life. There was times we didn't want to come to Imperial Beach because of the type of things that were happening in Imperial Beach. Now people really want to come, go eat at the restaurants. The brewery now is here. You see this with beautiful residents on top. It's only 3. It's not gonna draw a huge crowd. They're luxury. And so it's not gonna be where a lot of partying is gonna be on. These are gonna be respectable people that are gonna maintain the building. And that is basically my point of view. I know that this has already been, architects have been involved. So everything on there is gonna be safe. The building actually on the right, was it on the right? I'm dyslexic. So the one that's, I can see there, that's the white building. That is a building that is causing obstruction of view, not this one. So that's my point of view of what's going on. And again, somebody said coming in at the 11th hour. I did too. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. Ruth Cole, did you want to speak or, okay.
Thank you, council, for hearing us. My name is Ruth Cole. I live at 326 Elder Avenue. I also teach the Tai Chi class at the sports park, thanks to Ed. Yeah, I really support Terry Johnson's letter. It's very well written, succinct, to the point. I'm one of the people that walked around in the community to change the general plan. That can be done again. We are only asking that the builders conform to the general plan. It can be an attractive building if it's built within the specifications, not a 40-foot height, not hanging over the sidewalks. Yeah. So again, the community spoke in the 90s when we changed the plan. Let's listen to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bob Miller. Bob Miller.
Bob Miller, 1167 5th Street, Imperial Beach. Good evening, council. I'm representing the Seacoasters this evening, and we heard the presentation by the Kegels and very impressed with their sincerity about putting a project in place that they feel will be pleasing and will enhance Seacoast Drive, and I believe it will. And the Seacoasters agreed that this is a project that should be supported by the council. I would imagine tonight that some of the council folks will ask some questions because some of the information we've heard or some of the speakers with good intentions, I certainly appreciate the speakers here. They know that they are speaking from the heart. But I think there were some misstatements, and I think the council will bring those out. You know, the Seacoast are looking at the global picture. What's going to happen down the road? Well, we've already have a new hotel, Pier South, and that's changed things. We said it would change things. Seacoast Drive is a different place now. It's lively, and I see this as one component. This project is one component of something good that's happening in Imperial Beach. This is not going to happen up and down the street. There's going to be a variety of different projects. We have a new hotel. It's at Seacoast Drive and IB Boulevard. So it's not like a wall. I don't think it's going to be 40 feet. So I think, again, this council will bring out some of these points that have been made. Also, you know, these people are not coming in as developers and then hightailing it out of town as soon as they can. They're going to live there. This project's going to get tender loving care by the developers. They're proud of this and they want the city to be proud of it and do everything you can to make this a good project for this city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is Mr. Holt still around? Benny Holt? Okay. Mr. Holt is opposed to the project. I also have Kylie Kavanaugh. She does not want to speak, but she's also opposed to the project. Patricia Dehart.
Good evening, City Council. I didn't want to speak either, but I thought I thought it was important to come up here and voice my opinion. My name is Patty Dehart. I live at 419 Cherry Avenue, and I've been a longtime resident of Imperial Beach. My mother brought us here in '59. My husband, Bruce Dehart's father, brought them here in 1960, and my father-in-law was George Dehart. He had the Village Barber Shop first on 13th Street and then on Palm Avenue and 9th. And recently, I mean, not recently, but in the last 20 years, I guess, George had to be evicted because there was going to be a new CVS coming in. Okay, well, George wasn't opposed because he thought, you know what, it's making the city better. And so it did make the city better. Who wanted to keep the old Big Bear? Not me, that's for sure. And so also we've had variances when we built an 18-foot variance on our driveway. Variances are good sometimes, but I'm gonna leave that up to the experts. We've been paying our taxes here and also business taxes. My husband's the owner of Seaside Pool and Spa. So we've been in the community for many years, and we support this project because it's very beautiful. And I just enjoy going to Seacoast now, eating at the restaurants, enjoying my pier. This is my hometown. I've always come back here. If my dad was in the military, we had to go to Oxnard once, in Beeville, Texas another time, but we always come back here because this is our home. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Angie Marcus. Is that how you? Is that okay? Thank you. Now remember, state your name and address for me, if you don't mind.
832 13th Street.
Thank you.
Hi. I know I don't live on the, on Seacoast. I felt strongly to come in and talk about this project because, like I came into the development side of it, and I heard what had happened, gave my words there too. Just several things concern me. I know change is hard. Sometimes people feel like they might get squeezed out or, but progressive. I love the word progressive. I moved here to Imperial Beach, 4 years ago. I'm not a long-term resident, but I moved in with my sister into a condo on 13th, and we had the same issue. And she'll talk about her view of it. She's on the board of directors, but people didn't want the change, and they, and I'm looking at Imperial Beach, and since I've been here, the change has been astonishing. What you guys have been doing with Imperial Beach has been great. There were areas, and I know in that home that is in question where the building's going up, there were homeless people that were living there, and it was kind of a scary area to even walk by for us as women. But now Imperial Beach, with the hotels that you're bringing in, the motels that you're bringing in, the progressiveness to it, it's very family oriented. I go there now and I do volunteer work down on the beachfront. There's a lot of families, there's children, people are enjoying themselves. I have doctors I'm connected to and some lawyers up in La Jolla area. And they have told me directly in communication that several of them, that they have come down, they're coming down on vacation in Imperial Beach, and they love it now. And they're really surprised at the growth, and they're surprised at the quality that the city council is putting forth in the buildings and what you're doing with the businesses. This takes care of both of those issues, residential and businesses. So I guess the question for people to decide is, do we want Imperial Beach to be progressive and yet still keep it contained and keep a hometown feel, but yet still add and beautify it? So I guess that's the question, and I trust you guys will make a good decision.
Thank you, ma'am. CY Newsom?
Hi, good evening. My name is Cy Newsom.
Oh, Cy, I apologize.
I live at 832 13th Street, and I can't say that I'm a long-term resident. I haven't seen Imperial Beach go through its changes or its adjustments over the years like a lot of the other community members have. But what I have seen in the short years that I've been here, in moving into the condominium structure at 832 13th, I've been invited to be on the board there. And one of the major things that had to happen was a complete redevelopment of our own little block there. And I don't know if anybody remembers that building 4 years ago, but it took a lot to get that building turned around and to update our little corner of the world over there in Imperial Beach. But we got a lot of resistance simply because people didn't want to change. And so we managed to get through that. And the result of us just changing our one little block there to something progressive and something beautiful is that our neighbors around us have now begun doing the same thing. And I'm seeing that in Imperial Beach just in the last few years. And I've seen what's happening with the community when beautiful things and progressive and development goes in. I can't speak to setbacks and things like that. I'm not a professional about that. But I hope that just the idea of not wanting progress or wanting change or wanting everything to remain exactly the same doesn't stop the council and the city from progressing forward. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you very much. Darren Fernandez.
I'll keep mine real brief. Longtime IB resident. My parents came here in
Just state your name and
Darren
and your
Fernandez.
address
I live
for-
right here, 932 8th Street.
Thank you, sir.
And just looking at the project, I think you guys are the professionals. You guys have done a wonderful job since when I was a kid till now on the design on the beach and how it's improved. I think this building's a beautiful structure. I think that IB in a whole, in general, is going in a direction, and you guys are the ones to make that decision of the details of it. But I think, again, I think the whole community has really benefited from properties such as this that have come up that probably would never been imaginable years when I was a kid, that these things would be going on down in our little city. And it has been. And I think we all, although we're emotionally attached to the old IB, we see the vision and the trajectory of where we're headed. And I think as long as we continue on that same path, we'll know the ceilings, where to put them. But I trust that you guys will continue to move in the positive direction that it has been. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Next we have, I apologize for this, Soria.
Hello, I'm Soraya Pizet, and I live at 569 10th Street. I'm also a real estate agent with Spirit Realty, and I've been here for about 4.5 years, and the market was running kind of slow until the hotel came about. And all of a sudden, it brought new life into the community. People were fixing up their homes. People actually were able to sell their homes for enough money to move on or to move up. And this hotel has blocked views from the little houses that were behind them. I have lots of clients that were upset and they sold their properties, but sorry, a little nervous. Collectively, my clients have seen an increase from anywhere from 18 to 24% on their properties since this hotel has come about. And this property here, it's in such a location that it's really going to make an impact on the community again. And the little houses that are behind there are so adorable. And they're going to allow these people that are behind, once this building goes up as well, those little cottages are going to increase in value. And I see so many people that coming into IB that want to buy here, or the ones that are here now have a reason to improve because it's worth it. So the property brings jobs. It's like I said, it's a beautiful, I don't think it's a big wall. It has lots of glass. It's going to be where you could put your little chairs out there and sit and watch the pier. I believe that this is a great addition to the community, and it's going to bring even more, beautify the city further. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Rick Ameska.
So 2 minutes real quick.
Just state your name and
Oh,
address.
Ricky
for me,
Emilson,
please.
933 Seacoast. We need to have a continuance. The applicants have had 14 months to move this process along before anyone got any notice. A bunch of us were not lawfully noticed. So this process seems rigged. We also have a private interest, special interest group, the Seacoasters, who is a group of business people who look after their private profit interest by lobbying government. And 2 of our city council members are also members of the Seacoasters. To me, that kind of suggests a little conflict of interest. I think you ought to recuse yourselves. Secondly, the municipal code, does state the new project should not be negatively impact other properties. In fact, on the one hand, you say that views are not protected, but on the other hand, your own issuance criteria says that the facility will contribute to the general well-being of the neighborhood or community. That's obviously not the case. You're taking a bad parking problem and making it significantly worse. You're lowering people's property values behind. You know what happens when you do that, right? If you know anything about zoning in other places like Miami, what happens is you create kind of a shadow behind them. So you wall off the beach. Sure, you guys are all making lots of money, right? and your campaign contributions come in good order. But the people who actually live here have to put up with problems. So we want a continuance. Your job is to balance private profit interest against the public interest, and you don't seem to be doing that in this case. It seems to be a foregone conclusion. It's been a foregone conclusion the entire time, even though certain people were not even informed this was even happening.
Sir.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next we have Eileen Hanat.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eileen Aino, and my husband and I and our two children, we live at 1018 Florida Street.
Apologize for stopping. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, unlike many of the other people here, I have lived all over the place. I've lived in a number of beach towns. I've seen some develop very beautifully. I have seen at least one destroy itself with development. And I think the fastest way for a town to destroy itself with development is to ignore setbacks. Once you have people building right up against the street, it really destroys the feeling, destroys the air. We also have a problem with runoff, so we need to make sure we have setbacks with water-wise plants that are going to absorb when we have runoff problems. So that's one thing that really concerns me. Another thing that concerns me is I once lived in what was considered an upscale condominium, and each one of us had double garages, so we all had parking spaces, and there was additionally visitor parking. So initially this was wonderful, parking for everyone, even when you had a party. But what happened was the neighborhood changed and we started having college students move in. So 6 kids would pile into a condo, and now they all had 6 cars. And so pretty quickly, we could not park. If we had visitors or family come, they had nowhere to park. So that's a second thing that really worries me about this development, the idea that you have not the full complement of parking. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a great evening.
And with that, I'll open it up for discussion. Mr. Spriggs?
Well, first, I'd like to thank everyone who came out, regardless of which side of the project that you're on. It's real important to get public input, and I have some concerns about the notice issue, and I don't want to jump on anyone about that, but the failures or inadequacy of the original notice of the public hearing on this project, not getting to every resident within, I think, 100 feet, is really, really bad, really unfortunate. That should never have happened. And again, without saying where the fault took place in the process of public notice, I would ask that we, our city manager and staff, to oversee these processes carefully going forward. So we don't have this kind of thing happen again. There is absolutely no intention to pull something over the community on this. And I stand by my record of integrity on just about for the 4.5 years that I've been on this council. I've challenged lots of decisions, lots of issues, and there is no tolerance for trying to run a game on the community, as far as I understand. Um, this project isn't the first that's come before us. The City Mark project sailed through with all the notice and everything. There were some concerns and objections raised. The hotel project has been the one that's already built, Pier South, had some controversy, but generally speaking, people thought it was a good thing. Similarly, so seems to be the case with the demolition of the derelict apartments at the end of Seacoast Drive, well, it's Seacoast Drive and IB Boulevard, and the idea of a new hotel there. Um, we are moving forward as a community. The question is, for all of us, community, electeds, etc., how do we strike the right balance between preservation of our core community values and a reasonable amount of development? You know, our mission statement says maintain and enhance classic California. It begs the question when you put enhance in there. We're obviously not preserving Imperial Beach as it was in the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. And many people have, throughout Southern California, have remarked on how Imperial Beach has really improved from the time I was a kid in San Diego and the time many of my younger colleagues were kids growing up in San Diego or in Imperial Beach. Striking that balance, there's lots of forums where we have an opportunity to address, you know, what the right balance between development and status quo should be. Most recently, we had long discussions regarding the new commercial zoning code that was adopted finally about a year and a half or 2 years ago, after about 4 years of discussion, debate, and many community forums and workshops led by our former planning director and now departed Greg Wade, who's now in Solana Beach. One of his shining moments, I mean, people may have various views about Mr. Wade, but I attended most of those workshops on our zoning, and he demonstrated a good ear, excellent knowledge of all the different nuances, and those were very well attended workshops. The commercial zoning and the design guidelines, which are general, lay out the current sort of vision of what kind of development should be taking place that this community fought over and decided on in the commercial corridors of Palm Avenue and Seacoast Drive, and to some extent, the commercial strip on 13th. These are public documents. Anybody can take a look at them, and you can see that the expectation, particularly for the Seacoast Drive area, is that there will be primarily a pedestrian serving retail on the ground floor with residential on the upper floors. There is no statement anywhere in the zoning that how much of this there's going to be or how little of it there's going to be. So when an investor comes to our community and wants to invest in our community, like the hotel and all the other projects, they have to be able to conform to the essential elements of the zoning plan. And that, I believe, is what has happened here. There's always, I don't care whether you're putting up a single family residence, a townhome or whatever, there are always variances that you have to ask for because the zoning requirements are very complex. And I think in all these cases, we will benefit from something that is going on right now. I have a lot of sympathy for the idea that we have to manage to some extent private interest in development in Imperial Beach. One of the core ways of doing that is what we have proposed and set aside money for on this city council, which is the Seacoast Drive Aesthetics Project. That project, which the Seacoasters themselves supported creating, is to try to create a vision for what should happen on Seacoast Drive. How much development? What kind of development? What type of architecture? What type of materials? The finer points of design guidelines that are not contained in the design guidelines of our current zoning. Very important for this part of our community because this is where the investment wants to locate. This is where our community benefits and meets and enjoys. This is where visitors are attracted and enjoy. And if it succeeds, the hotels will succeed. This is where our sales tax, TOT, property tax, other revenues essential for the development of our community and essential for the provision of public services for this community. As this part of Imperial Beach goes, so goes Imperial Beach. So that doesn't mean unfettered, blind development. Whoever shows up with money, yes, you can do whatever you want to do on Seacoast Drive. No, we do have the guidelines in our zoning, and we do have our zoning requirements. And the issue is really what next steps should we take to create a more consistent approach to development on Seacoast Drive so that we don't have to deal with building materials and variances every single time a project is proposed. Quite frankly, we, as a city government and your leadership, we're a little bit behind on getting something like the aesthetics project worked out, workshopped, shared with the community, approved by the council, funded for public improvements, and laying out guidelines for private investment on Seacoast Drive. This is something that we're close to finally being able to do now, I can say, but we aren't there yet. Unfortunately, because we're not there yet, the significant development projects that are taking place on Seacoast Drive, because they are time sensitive due to the investors that want to do something there, we have to do these projects on a case-by-case basis in the absence of more detailed design guidelines that the whole community can buy into. So I'm being honest with you. This is kind of where we are right now. And this is why this project and previous projects have taken a lot of time. And we've had to look at variances one project at a time and make our best judgments about those projects. I am very hopeful that this calendar year, we are going to have proposals before the public in workshops and this council for design guidelines and an aesthetics plan for Seacoast Drive that is going to enable us to better determine what kind of projects, what kind of materials, what kind of colors, what kind of setbacks, what kind of densities, etc., will be done on Seacoast Drive. Right now, what we have is our commercial zoning guidelines. So having said that, I think this is a question, again, of balancing. It's a question of moving forward. I believe that this project, as you can see on your screens, is a thoughtful design. We've heard from the people who are putting it together. They're putting their money and their reputation on the line for this project. They are going to reside, as one of the speakers mentioned, in the building themselves. And that, to me, says a lot. When someone, and this is very rare for a development project, where someone is going to put something up that they are going to put their good name on. They are going to be residing there. And if people have problems with it, they know where to find them, right? That's the kind of people that we have that are supporting this project. So, having said all of that, I think, you know, I've said a lot. There's a lot going on. Um, we do need to um, think very carefully about the kind of development and balancing development versus status quo. But this is certainly one part of Imperial Beach that is going to attract investment. You want people with the right intentions to invest there. We don't want a lot of liquor stores and bars and that sort of thing there. This is not that. This is basically a good project. And when it's all said and done, a few years down the road, we are going to think back to this time and say, yes, this project has contributed positively to our community and our beachfront and Seacoast Drive, and we'll all benefit from the retail that will be there as well. So that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilmember Spriggs. Do I have any other comments? Councilmember Bragg.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for attending this meeting and speaking your mind on this. To some of the older faces in the crowd who went through the wars, it's good to see you back. To the newcomers, it's good to have you here and hear your perspective as well. Mr. Foltz, I'm really going to kind of put you through the ringer now, because so many of our speakers did speak to repetitively some of the issues. So if you could write down what I'm going to ask you to, you got a great memory, though you're probably not going to need that, but some of the comments that I would like you to address are parking issues, setbacks and step backs, the use of the rooftop, landscaping, the vacation rental issue, and the legality of it, of where it is in this project, the safety issue, sidewalks, the number of variances, and runoff issues, if you would. I know. Okay. But you know what? These people came. They asked those questions. And some people apologized for, Johnny come latelys and just now showing up. By my count, this is the 6th time that this project has been heard, either by DRB or ourselves. I'm not going to play the blame game of, what happened with the title company and the notices. Mr. Spriggs stated it. That's not acceptable. It's not normally the way business happens in the city of Imperial Beach, but it did happen. This meeting was to rectify that. I just have to say it. I really do resent the remark about this project being railroaded to the community, and the remark about we're all making tons of money. That's just not true. Mr. Foltz, if you would, please.
With regards to parking, one of the key issues in the latest commercial zoning changes related to parking, and one of the issues was, if you see the site plan here, some of the old requirements, let's say a restaurant had to provide one parking space for every 75 square feet of net floor area. So if there was a project of this size, you'd have to provide double-digit amount of parking spaces. On a project site of this size, that would take up almost the entire ground floor. So because of these the old parking regulations, a lot of development wasn't occurring with regards to the uses that were recommended per the zoning code, restaurant type uses, retail type uses. So there was a lot of stagnant development with regards to that. So that was one of the key incentives, was to allow for some different adjustments with regards to the parking. So with that, that's why these transportation and demand management strategies were implemented, was not only just to provide for parking and key areas, which are still required, there's still parking required for the projects, but also to encourage uses of alternate methods of transportation, to start using your bicycles, to start being able to use public transportation such as bus stops. These types of things are being encouraged not just here, but throughout throughout the entire country right now because of greenhouse gases, etc. So the emphasis was not just to provide parking for vehicles, but to try and use alternate methods of transportation, which is, again, a key element that was provided for this project. And that's why the parking is as you see it today. Not only to provide for these alternate uses, but to expand some of the commercial space that could be provided. Because what happened in some of the older projects was, well, if we can't fit the parking, we have to start reducing the commercial square footage area. And then it became so small so that they can meet those parking requirements. There was not a commercial use space that would be attractive to the population.
Let me ask you this. Let me interrupt you if I may. Does this project meet the parking requirements?
Yes, it does.
Does it exceed the parking?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
With regards to setbacks and stepbacks, the current setbacks and stepbacks that are in our code today is almost mirroring what was implemented back in 1994 as well. This project is in a commercial zone and doesn't have step back or setback requirements on any property line except for Seacoast Drive, which is where it requires some undulating step backs. What we asked the developer to do was to set the actual building line back as much as they could for their project from the eastern property line, which is why these are exposed walkway areas, exposed staircases, so that the building face would be set back further from those property lines, which is both on the second and third floor. Even though the requirement is you don't need to provide a setback or step back, these were implemented for this project. With regards to the views, which is brought up for setbacks and step backs, one of the key things with regards to implementing side yard setbacks and step backs is to protect public views of street ends. This particular project is not encroaching on any street end or road, such as Elder Avenue, and it's not at the end of a street end. So the protection for views is for the public right of way. As we've noted before on other projects and tonight, we don't have an ordinance that protects private views as other communities do. So the emphasis in our code is to protect public views, which is what is being proposed for this project as well. For the rooftop, the code requires you to measure to the top of the building, which is the area that is sheltering the people that are using it, or animals, or what have you. That's how the code defines it. Beyond that area is where it says you could have building height exceptions, which is, again, something that's been in our code for quite some time that is being implemented for this project. It says you can house equipment that's required to operate the building, in addition to house stairwell enclosures and elevator enclosures, and then the parapet walls that are required by law. If there's a roof at the top of the 35-foot height limit, those parapet walls are required by law because they have to act as guardrails so that people don't fall off of them. So with regards to the height limits, the project technically meets those requirements. With regards to landscaping, because this is such a constrained site, it's about 4,700 square feet or so. Implementing the landscaping all at the ground floor, again, would have taken up almost all the commercial space. So what the applicant's proposing is to provide the landscaping on the roof deck, which is what they're proposing. They're also going to be required to not only design, but also construct whatever Seacoast aesthetic improvements are going to be required in front of their building in the private right-of-way or the public right-of-way, which may include other landscaping or any other aesthetic improvements that are deemed necessary in this area. On the entire back of the site, one of the key purposes of landscaping, and this leads to another area of runoff, is to capture all the water. There's a large basin that's in this area that captures all the water. So there's been an engineered plan for all the runoff for this property that gets captured in this back area and treated before it ever leaves the property. So all the rooftop deck is designed that way. Every portion of the property is sloping in a manner that goes to that back area so that it is then treated in an underground basin. Uh, with regards to vacation rentals, that was a heavily discussed topic some years ago, where it was determined where vacation rentals may or may not take place. The decision at that time was to allow them in commercial zones only. So technically, that would be a permitted use if proposed. Um, uh, that one's just an allowed use per our zoning code. So if that was to be proposed for the project, um, it would be allowed per the municipal code. But again, that's only in commercial zones and not throughout the entire city or uh, uh, any other areas to the north or south of Palm Avenue and Imperial Beach Boulevard.
If I could stop you right there.
Mhm.
So the group of owners in this project could decide themselves and say, we don't want vacation rentals here?
Yeah, they could set up an HOA that would restrict them, CCNRs. There's all types of ways to limit that if needed. For safety, if you're on Seacoast Drive heading north and south and you go into the alley, you will see any pedestrians coming in that alley or that are crossing the street there. And I'll go to that plan that showed that. So this area you would naturally see them if you're in a vehicle entering this alley. If you're exiting the alley, again, because of where we live, we drive towards the right-hand side of the road. So a building locating on the property line would be able to have a buffer of this area here to see any pedestrians coming and going on the building on the left-hand side. With regards to the corner, there's a red curb currently located here so that cars couldn't park there. Often on corners, cars are a great hindrance with sight lines. That wouldn't occur on this corner because there would be no cars there. Uh, Currently, if you drive by the site, there's a lot of vehicles that are already located or that park off the alley, which is, if you're sitting in your car, access is similar to a building that would be in that same location. So cars parked in this area, whether it be open space or a building, would provide the same type of visual impacts. So the building itself would not create any type of new safety concerns. With regards to emergency access, the alleys will still remain clear. The streets will remain clear. There's no impediment to any emergency vehicles. Even verticality, it wouldn't stop any ladders from accessing any areas for safety purposes. So the fire department and the sheriff department have not expressed any safety hazards with this particular project. And there are other buildings, not just the building to the north of this, but buildings throughout Imperial Beach, not just this commercial zoning, but even residential zones that are located on property lines. So it's not something that safety staff wouldn't be able to address that they haven't already. And as noted, vehicles essentially drive slower in the Seacoast Drive area. For the sidewalks, the buildings being proposed to locate on the property line, so it wouldn't take away any public space. It would locate closer to the sidewalk on Elder Avenue as it would closer on Seacoast Drive, though they are setting the building back so that it could have outdoor seating or what have you from Seacoast Drive. But the building itself is not locating within the public right of way on Elder Avenue, so it wouldn't go into the sidewalk area. Did I miss any? I don't think I missed one.
I think you addressed the runoff issue and the number of variants.
Variance. Well, technically, there's no variance for this project. There are provisions within our municipal code that would be allowed without a specific variance. So one of them would be the adjustment of the commercial height from 13 and a half or from 15 feet to 13 and a half feet. And that's so that the residences above the first floor could have a floor to ceiling height of about 9 feet as opposed to 7 feet, which is a very constrained space for a living area. The other provision was the 35-foot height limit, and that's if granted with a conditional use permit. And they're providing the two of the incentives that are in our municipal code, which is at least 25% of the residences have 3 bedrooms. All of their units have that, and then more than 75% of the ground floor area would be for commercial space. Their entire ground floor area is for commercial space. So they're not proposing any residential uses on the ground floor that would take away from that area. So those are two of the adjustments, the height and then also the dimension of the commercial space. I don't note any other.
Okay. Uh, Mr. Foltz, thank you for that. I hope that that answers some of the questions that the community had raised. I think that my colleague, Mr. Spriggs, spoke very eloquently about this project and our approach to this project. And one of our speakers, and I don't remember who it was, but kind of accused us of having an emotional attachment to the old IB. And I'm guilty of that too. I'm guilty. But I also realized change is coming. Change is coming and it's here. It's our job to manage that. And I just want you all to rest assured that I spent a lot of time with the developer, as did Mr. Patton, Mr. Spriggs, Mr. Bilbray, and our mayor. Hours. I spent hours with our staff. And you can tell that Tyler knows this project pretty well. And don't hate the messenger. Okay, please don't hate Tyler. He's done a great job with this. And this project is in response to the community's desires from all the wars that we had, you know, of the height and density and then the very recent zoning ordinance changes. So this project it fits the code. And I would like our city attorney, if you would briefly, just talk about property owner rights. I just want, before she does that, I used to live on Elkwood Street and I lived in a little duplex and I loved it. It was right across the street from the park and I raised my sons there. And every day they went to the park to play. And then one day I got a notice. And in 30 days I had to move because it was being torn down. And that was, oh my God, 20, 25 years ago. So change started way back then. So attorney, if you would, please answer that question about property owner rights.
Sure, Councilmember Bragg. Essentially, there's no right to not let your neighbor build something that's in compliance with the city's, general plan, zoning code, et cetera. The city of IB does not have any view protection ordinances in place. So in terms of blocking different views, the adjacent property owners have no private property interest in that aspect of it and prohibiting development on sites adjacent to them.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Patton.
Last but not least here, thanks for everybody for coming. What a respectful audience you've been. It's a pleasure to be up here listening to you, both pros and cons. I like the design, interior layout. It's different, modern, takes advantage of the views. I think there's some misunderstandings of what's commercial and what's residential, and I know Tyler, you touched upon this, but I'm gonna kind of ask you a couple questions that may or may not be duplicates. But I've been sitting here for a long time, like you, waiting to ask him. So to confirm, setbacks allowable for commercial abutting commercial. What will you have? Argus Village and this new project are we? Did we meet those guidelines?
Yeah, your setbacks are from your property lines, and then there's an alley, public right of way between those. So yes.
We met those guidelines as well as the step backs.
Yes.
Okay. I guess my thing is just because we meet them, I guess future projects we could talk to developers and say, hey, what can we do to get the most bang for our buck, as well as reach out to residents, and maybe we won't have meetings like this where we have a lot of disgruntled people saying, I'm not happy with this. So that's a concern of mine, but this development met that. And the developer, when he came on June 3rd, nice man, definitely passionate about what he's building and where he's going to live. I guess what I'm looking at here is an issue of the height, because the fourth floor, maybe you can answer this, um, it's a usable rooftop. Does it constitute a fourth floor, the deck?
It does not. It has to be a usable space with sheltered area.
Okay. And is that roof deck considered square footage?
No.
At all? It's not. Okay. I guess we look at our core values of what we've developed of what our height limit was, and some people call them variances, and we're calling provisions of height limit. And then we look at rooftop lighting they might have, poles to support lighting, landscaping that might be up there, additional structures, canopies, fencing, whatnot. And then we have the big elevator shaft and stairwell height. What's the highest point of that elevator shaft?
44 feet
44 feet. So
for the
35 feet. Now we're at 44 feet. So basically, it gives the people on that rooftop a pretty good window of what they could put there. I don't know. It's just for me. After our last meeting, I've had a lot of time to really dive in this and look at this, and I've listened to everybody up here. I'm for commercial property. I'm for growth in Imperial Beach. I'm for nice projects that bring people to our beach, and I'm also definitely for our hometown environment. So for me to support this and projects like this, I think we need to stick to our core values of height, and I don't think we quite are on this one. Thank you.
Mr. Spriggs, you have any comments?
Yeah, I do have another question, and we've talked about parking. I'd say probably 95% of the people who had problems with this project mentioned parking amongst them. And in fact, I would venture to guess that concerns about parking are probably stronger than concerns about an extra foot or two of height, or 4 feet or even 9 feet. The project relies on, especially if there's going to be consolidated commercial, relies on what's called transportation demand management strategies. In other words, finding ways for employees of the commercial areas particularly to get to work without taking up parking. This is this isn't the only building presently in the recent past and probably in the future where we are going to have to do more than use terms like TDM. We're actually going to have to know that TDM works because of the parking constraints in the community. And so I'm also including other city staff, including our city manager in this comment, that I think that TDM has been an element in some of the other projects that we've approved, including on Old Palm, a recent one. I believe, but my memory is not that great on this one, that it was an element in the Pier South project. It's probably going to be an element in other projects. Does it work? And how are we able to verify that that commercial and retailers have employed TDM after we've given them the approval to proceed with a project, assuming that they're going to use transportation demand management strategies. I think because parking is such a hot button issue, things like TDM really do we have to be a model community and in TDM operating effectively and working in Imperial Beach. And as I've said before, we do have to look at other parking solutions. You know, I've had offline discussions with people about talking to the port about taking their property and building a parking structure there to take some of the pressure off of the neighborhoods. We really do need to be very mindful about the parking conditions that will worsen as our zoning plan is fulfilled with new investment in the community. So things like providing for, and you know, a lot of these, here's the problem. A lot of these lots along Seacoast Drive, including this one, they won't support a lot of parking. They're just too small. And it's one of the problems I think that we have in our community is that a financially viable project requires a certain size in order to accommodate maximum amount of parking, and our lot sizes just aren't there. It's just a reality. If you're a big developer, like a hotel developer, we require you go underground at huge cost because of the water table and all of that. If you're a small developer, there'll be no development if we required underground parking for a small project like this or some of the other small projects, including the other mixed use projects that we've approved in the last 3 or 4 years. So I guess what I'm saying, and this just isn't to you, Tyler, it's to all of us. We have got to really come to grips with some parking and transportation demand management strategies that work for Imperial Beach, or at least be mindful, that these things have to all work together and have maybe a plan, an overall city plan for as we grow, what's going to happen with parking. I've seen situations before. I spent many years as a senior manager at UC San Diego, and which for environmental or other reasons did not want to build more parking structures. They were in the master plan. I was an advocate of building those parking structures, particularly in the public visited areas around athletics and around the center part of the campus. I lost out on those votes in the planning committees. They didn't want to build them. And if anybody tries to get into UCSD who doesn't have a parking permit, even if you have it, you can't find a place to park. There was a hit in that situation. There was and I'm saying this only because we don't want to go down that same path of inadvertent log jams when it comes to parking in a worsening and worsening situation. We've all seen it in different communities that we've lived in or have experience with. There was a conspiracy theory that the faculty were trying to force everybody into public transportation, and so they wouldn't approve any more parking structures, even though they were in the master plan for the campus. I don't think we have a faculty problem here in Imperial Beach, but we do have the challenge of not having the land for a lot of parking, and yet having, being a visitor serving community, having all the visitors who want to come here. So transportation demand management has to work. We need to find some way, maybe we need to bring in a transportation advisor or a consultant to look at how these different projects that are supposed to be using TDM, whether they're using it or not. Maybe we need to think about an ordinance that puts a little bit more muscle behind it. We have got to start looking at managing our traffic in a more comprehensive way. So that's really my, it's not really a question, it's a statement, but if you have any comment about TDM and whether we can verify it and whether it really works or not, it sounds like a nice theory, but I'm not sure, how well it works in practice. And it's not comprehensive. It's project by project, and I'm not sure that we're overseeing them after they get going and implement the projects.
One of the requirements for this project is to actually enter into an agreement. So they'll be bound to follow these requirements, and it will take some uh, inspections by staff from time to time to ensure that they're meeting whatever those final agreements are. And we'll be working with our traffic consultant who works on a lot of alternative methods of transportation, who helped design commercial rezoning, looking at our Palm Avenue master plans, worked on all our traffic projects throughout the city to identify those that might work for this particular project and those that come forward with projects that are going to require transportation demand management strategies. So with those respects, we are going to be looking at what will work for this particular project and those that come forward in the future, because it's no one's intent to make the situation worse. But as you noted, uh, the land is very narrow. There are many requirements for how wide a space needs to be, how deep it needs to be, with what the back out area is for a parking space. And these do, especially for these smaller type of lots, take up almost the entire ground floor. Where that's why it's very rare for a project to come forward with just a commercial project, because there's just not enough room to fit in the commercial space, to have the depth of the commercial space so that they could have a back of house, etc., and also fit the parking. So these are things that we are working on. It's been recently implemented in our commercial zoning, and it's something that we're going to be endeavoring to narrow down as best we possibly can to fit this particular area.
The thought about a more comprehensive look at transportation demand management throughout the city. I did throw that thought out to you. If you have any
Yeah,
thoughts about that.
and that's why we're going to contact our traffic engineer, because the different commercial zones likely have different needs. So example for Bikeway Village, I'm sure they'll have different needs that will be required if there were to be a commercial project in one of those buildings that required a transportation demand management strategy. That's wildly different than what we need at Seacoast Drive. So we're going to address those on a case by case so that we make sure that each one is met appropriately.
Councilmember Bragg, you have a comment?
I just wanted to assure Councilmember Spriggs that I'm on this parking issue, and I frequently call our city manager just to make sure that the employees of Pier South are not parking at Dunes Park. So we're watching it, and I have members of the community who also call me at home and say, Miss Bragg, there's parking at Dunes Park is being abused by employees. So to the residents who do pick up the phone and let us know that kind of stuff, thank you.
Mr. Hall, do you have a comment?
Only one, probably. It's been interesting watching whether that's the public for or against the project, the city council staff, the applicant struggle with this issue. And there's been some talk about balance tonight. And I think one of the real challenges that we have in Imperial Beach is that the city council and the community came together and they established some important priorities for our community. And one of those was height. And one of those things was, the setbacks, the step backs, all the things we've talked about tonight. And so I think that there are certain things that we can control in the community, and we've tried to put controls on those. And then there's some things that are outside of our control. And recently, a piece of property in our community that was 3/4 of an acre sold for over $5 million. And so we create we find ourselves trying to strike that balance between, we want the buildings to be relatively low, we want to have ample parking, we want to have all these community values, and they're very important to us. But yet, the one thing that we can't control, the one thing that's outside of the control of the council, of the residents, and everything else, is this kind of unwritten thing known as the market and the market value of the property, and what's happening to not just Imperial Beach, but doesn't matter where you go in California or Southern California or San Diego County in particular, I think is the fourth most expensive housing market in the United States. So one of the challenges we have is that we try to maintain these community values with the things that we can control, the height, the zoning, the architecture, and all the things that we've talked about tonight. But there's still a large part of that that's out of our control. And so we do try to strike that balance and make sure that the community continues to progress. But 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 it's a dilemma, and there's some real challenges. You know, we've talked about if a new hotel does come to fruition at the intersection of IB Boulevard and Seacoast Drive, you know, where do we go with that? Is the city or are the residents willing to say, you know, in order to build a hotel that has some kind of economic feasibility, we've limited the height, but we've told them that the first floor can't be used for rooms. So we've said, okay, we have these community values that we want, but are we willing to make sure that we um, provide the assistance that's necessary, whether that's, you know, through some kind of incentives or what we can do to make these projects still be economically feasible. So I just want to commend the city council for taking this seriously. I did hear some comments tonight that I can assure anyone that cares to be honest with themselves, to understand that none of you benefit personally from this. We have very strict rules about council members being able to vote on projects. None of you will benefit personally from this. And yet you're here trying to match that struggle between how do we keep the community moving forward? And yet how do we protect private property rights? You know, any of us in here tonight that were being told what we could do with our own property would be the first one to say, you four can't sit up here and tell me what to do with my property. But yet we do. We stick these regulations on there for community values. It's a real struggle, and I appreciate the fact that this forum exists, so we can all come together and try as a community to come up with something that somehow is going to benefit our community and still allow us to move forward. And I hope that people recognize this is the best way to do this. It's painful, it's hard, takes a lot of time. But this is the best way to do this, is to come together and hear everybody's concerns and then try to put together a project that makes the most sense. And that's kind of where we're at tonight.
I just have a comment. Being probably safe to say the only born and raised council member up here. I've been here for 30 years. I'm well aware of the history of the height wars. In fact, two council members actually did the heavy lifting on this whole zoning ordinance. Councilmember Spriggs and I attended one of the last workshops just before we were elected. And, you know, these type of projects, the reason why the past council went to these type of projects or tried to redo our zoning ordinance was because we weren't getting anything built. And in order for Imperial Beach to survive, we have to increase our revenues. And that's exactly what these mixed use projects do. You guys want lights, alleyways paved, sports park. Where we got in the whole thing with sports park last year was because we didn't have revenue. And these hotels and mixed use are what bring in the biggest bang for your buck. I mean, property taxes are basically, you know, a good base for your public safety, but public safety is increasing quite a lot. You know, Mr. Spriggs can give you the numbers on that one, but you know, I look at it as a local of seeing where what we've come from on our past. And remember, my grandfather was on the committee in order to incorporate this city back in '56. My father's the one who came to the sheriff's because we didn't have revenue. These projects are important, and I understand it's hard for change, but if we don't change, we die. And then we have most likely San Diego coming in, and what are they going to do to us? They're going to turn us into South Bay. I mean, all you have to do is drive into San Diego right down here on Palm Avenue. So with that, I'll entertain a motion. Well, actually, a closed public hearing, and I'll entertain a motion to rescind resolution number 2015-7577 and adopt resolution number 2015-7606. I'll move it. We have a motion and a second. Can we please vote?
Motion carried by the following votes. Ayes, Bilbray, Spriggs, Bragg. Noes, Patton. Absent, Dedina.
Okay. Now, after all that, I got to find where we are. 5.3. Yes, 5.3. See the adoption of resolution requesting that the San Diego Board of Supervisors names the Friends of the Library store in the Imperial Beach Library in memory of Frida Elliott Adams. Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. Following the direction of the City Council at a past City Council meeting, the council directed staff to prepare a resolution that would act as an official request to the Board of Supervisors at San Diego County to name the Friends of the Library store in the new library after one of our past residents, Frida Elliott Adams, who served the community for many years. And so that's simply put, that's what the resolution is about, is the following the direction of the staff to make that request of San Diego County.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Do we have any comments? Mrs. Bragg, would you like to start us off, or anybody else? Oh, speaker slips. I apologize. It's a little late. It's been a long day at work. Mrs. Odermatt?
So my name is Karen Odermatt. Do you need my address, or is that just for something else?
Just give us a place of order.
I live in Imperial Beach.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
there you
okay.
go.
So I did the liberty of making up a little flyer because I represent the Imperial Beach Women's Club, and their desire is to have this room named, the room, not the library room, but they want the community room named after Frida Compton Elliott Adams. So I typed up this little thing. So I didn't really know who she was because, you know, she's been here a long time, but it was before me. But she was, she passed away on April 3rd, 2013 at the age of 94. She was a longtime resident of Imperial Beach, and Imperial Beach lost a big part of its history on that date when she died. As the city's historian and writer of the full first account of local history, Frida Adams possibly knew more about the city of Imperial Beach than anyone else. As her granddaughter Stacy Bruton stated, whenever anything was going on, she was always there to support you and encourage you to always do better. She was an advocate for education and volunteerism, but mostly she was my grandmother. So that shows that she really worked in the community, but she was really involved with her family. She was born in Alabama, moved to San Diego with her husband in 1942, long enough to see much of modern Imperial Beach be built. Frida was a member of the civic group, which acted as a type of city council before the city was incorporated. A handwritten book of Imperial Beach Civic Committee minutes from 1945 to 1949 by Frida documents the activities of groups that would eventually create the city of Imperial Beach. In 1981, Adams published a 235-page Imperial Beach history book. She and a friend collected information from the library, local schools, churches, the fire department, and residents. Adams typed it on an electric typewriter and sold it at cost. The project had started as a little history pamphlet to earn some money for the city, but once they started gathering information, Adams said they knew it wouldn't be just a short history. Following newspapers and what happened in various groups she was involved in, Adams witnessed and started to document local history. The Imperial Beach City Council named Frida and Associate Jay Robbins the city's official historians in 2006, the year of Imperial Beach's 50th anniversary. Aside from being a founding member of the Imperial Beach Women's Club and the Friends of the Imperial Beach Library, Frida was also a member of the Imperial Beach Civic Group and IB Garden Club in the 1940s, PTA, Girl Scouts, VFW Auxiliary, and Fleet Reserve Auxiliary. The Imperial Beach Women's Club hopes the community will remember her wonderful spirit and share Frida's love of this community. We cannot imagine a more moving tribute to this wonderful woman than naming the Imperial Beach Library Community Room the Frida Elliott Adams Community Room. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Stone?
Good evening. And my gosh, we're almost to midnight. We're almost ready to start the next day. My name is Nancy Stone. I live at 578 Citrus Avenue. I am a lifelong Imperial Beach resident. In fact, I was in the class behind your father at Mar Vista. With that, I'm here tonight on behalf of the Friends of the Imperial Beach Library, and also because of my personal relationship with this library. I still remember, and I mentioned this the last time I spoke, how excited I was when my mother took this 7-year-old girl into the library and I got my first library card. And it was from that building right across the way. And it was the start of a wonderful relationship. It opened a whole new world to me, and it's a magical world to me to this day. But first, I want to express our, as Friends of the Library, and my heartfelt appreciation and thank Councilwoman Lori Bragg for her wanting to honor Frida Adams, who was a founding member of the Friends of the Imperial Beach Library. And now, as the new library becomes a reality, and I know Lori, who's always been a strong supporter and member of the Library Friends, you currently are. Even you served, as you shared with me, as secretary in the past and worked with Frida. And you wanted Frida to be honored for her contributions to the library and to the city of Imperial Beach. And I thank you for wanting to honor your friend. Tonight, though, I'm speaking on behalf of the Friends of the Imperial Beach Library, and I want to be sure that I'm clear with everyone here tonight, those that are left, that could last it, that I think Lori and the Friends of the Library want the same thing. Recognition of Frida Elliott Adams for her many contributions and her love of not only the library, but also the city of Imperial Beach. To give you a little background, shortly after Frida passed away in April 2013, our Friends of the Library members agreed we wanted to find a way to ensure Frida was always remembered in Imperial Beach. Initially, we purchased books in her memory for the library, but that was just the beginning. When it finally looked like a new library was going to become more than just a dream, we talked again about how to celebrate all Frida had done in Imperial Beach because of her civic involvement and her passion. At least 9 months ago, the Friends discussed how we could request a way to honor Frida and make her memory be a permanent part of the new library. I was fortunate enough to be selected to participate in the selection committee to review the top 3 library designs. I represented not only Imperial Beach, but also the Friends of the Library. It was a long process. All 3 designs were good, but to me and other members on the committee, and that includes our awesome branch manager, June, who was on the committee as well, one design seemed to reflect the spirit that I feel is reflective of our wonderful beach town. From the unique wave-like quality of the roof, to the beach cottage exterior, to the woody themed entrance to the children's area in the library, I feel the architects and the contractors, they took the time to learn about Imperial Beach and our heritage, which harkens back to the ocean and to surfing. It's a strong part. And having grown up here when it was First Avenue, not Seacoast, I know what our community was like back in the day.
Ma'am, please wrap
Okay,
it up. Your
well,
time has expired.
Virginia Syverson gave me her time as
Oh,
well.
I apologize. I didn't
Yes,
see that on
yeah,
there.
okay,
go
I know,
ahead.
and it's a
I
long night.
apologize.
I'll try to keep talking quickly. It was obvious that Pennick and the Cats team spent time in Imperial Beach, and that's why we supported their design, and we're very glad when it was the one that was chosen. One thing here, I was excited about the existing community room being included in the new library project. That's the room today known as the Marina Vista Room, a name that I don't believe many will miss based on comments that I've heard from people. But it's incorporated into the new library as part of the overall design. It makes that room much more state of the art. It has excellent acoustics, and it's available to the use of the community members and organizations, even when the library is closed. And as a member of the Friends, I was very excited to see the Friends of the Library bookstore, because right now we have a little cart with 3 shelves on it, and that's how we raise money to support the library on that. But I want to tell you that since the Friends were their inception, we have raised over $10,000 to support library programs and events and book packages, just to name a few of the ways that we have been privileged to help and give back to our community through the library. But back to Frida Adams, which is the whole point of this. She was not only one of the founding members of the Friends of the Library, her contributions far exceeded our group. Frida was a member of the Women's Club and very active in the community. Originally from Huntsville, Alabama, when she moved here in 1942 with her husband, she adopted the city of Imperial Beach. And she ended up writing our first official history back in 1981. And in 2006, she was recognized by then Mayor Diane Rose as one of the 2 official historians for the city of Imperial Beach because of her dedication and contributions. Sadly, we lost Frida in April 2013, just 2 weeks shy of her 95th birthday. Frida's impact on our city was far-reaching, and she was active right up until the end. She didn't hesitate to speak her mind, but she was there to help whenever asked and warm you with her smile and that soft Southern accent. So as the Friends, we wanted the Friends, Frida, to be remembered for generations to come for her contributions to Imperial Beach. We felt the new library gave us such a venue. We talked to June and the staff at the county and were advised we could submit our request for recognition for Frida, but the time hadn't arrived yet, as the county has a very structured process for the solicitation, selection, plan, design, and even naming of any county building projects. So I was ready to write that letter on behalf of our Friends when we were told that we could do that. Because we were concerned when the planning and excitement of the recent approval of the library with the community room and the FOL bookstore, that maybe county leaders involved in the project might not be aware of what we had hoped would happen to recognize Frida. I have now submitted letters on behalf of the Friends to both Director Jose Aponte and to Supervisor Greg Cox on that. Because even though, and I had still been advised by the county, it was really too early in the process to get to the naming process. But I know how hard both Jose Aponte and Supervisor Cox have worked for years with the help of their staff to make this new Imperial Beach Library happen with that. Our members who all respected and personally cared about Frida because of her sassy personality, because she didn't hesitate to tell you what she thinks, and her many contributions to the city, as well as the Friends of the Library. So we discussed how we could recognize and celebrate all that Frida meant to the city of Imperial Beach. And what we would like is to request consideration of the naming of the community room in Frida's honor. It feels appropriate to recognize Frida in a way that would be seen by all community members who will have access to that community room as part of the new library. Because in our minds, what better way to honor the historian of Imperial Beach, who also had such close ties to the library, than placing her name on the community room that will be part of the new library. And I just, one last thought, and I'm sorry, I've run out of time, but as Frida's History of Imperial Beach is out of print, we have heard there might be a project in the works to update and reprint Frida's book. As the FOL and book lovers, we would welcome any opportunity to partner with that effort and perhaps provide some financial support to bring that book back into print. Because I think, and I'm also speaking for myself, I would love to see the book of the history of Imperial Beach back in print, and an opportunity for people in this community and whoever else would be interested to have a chance to buy it. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share some of the Friends of the Library view on this subject.
Thank you, Mrs. Stone. I'm sure anybody watching up there is just going to think I'm playing favoritism, but. Okay, with that, open it up to discussion. No. It's she donated her time. I only have 3. Councilmember Bragg.
Thank you. To Karen Odermatt and Nancy Stone, thank you so much for your kind words. And I truly do believe it's our love for Frida that has brought us to this point. I did want to read just a section of, we did in our packet, I don't know if you ladies got a copy of it, but we did receive a letter from former Mayor Diane Rose. I just wanted to read a paragraph that she had saying, as former mayor, I had the privilege of recognizing Frida as our city's official historian a decade ago. When Frida passed away in 2013, her commitment and dedication to our community and to our library was widely acknowledged. but wouldn't it be wonderful to tribute to her memory in a much more permanent way by naming the Friends of the Library bookstore in her honor? So I just wanted to read that. You know, there's a sentiment for support of naming the Friends of the Library bookstore in Frida's honor. So I brought a couple of props with me. You know me. What I have here for my colleagues to see, Councilmember Spriggs has the nerve to tell me to wrap it up after his lengthy discussion. Anyways, what? But I have to share this. I have to share this because it's in my possession. This is the actual book and the notebook that she carried as Frida was authoring her history of Imperial Beach. There's original pictures in here. There's a program for a 4th of July bathing beauty contest. I mean,
Let me see that.
there's photographs in here. There's the original typed pages. And Frida's granddaughter gave this to me. But it doesn't belong to me. This belongs to the city of Imperial Beach. And what I want to read to you from Frida's book, I'm not going to read the whole book. Rest assured, it is late. I just wanted to read. This part was written in 1976, and it's the co-author of this book was Mary Jane Effington, and I spoke to Frida so many times. I hung out with Frida a lot. She taught me a lot. She taught me about gardening. She tried to teach me to be a better lady, and I hope I'm succeeding. She taught me to embrace the women's club and all that it does in the community, and all of the other activities that she did. You know, when you're around a person enough and you experience with them their joys in life, you get to know them a little bit better, and then you find the one thing that is their passion, and it was the library. She conducted her interviews for the book at the library. 3 copies of each interview. She taped them. You know, she had a little tape recorder, and they recorded the interview. 3 copies of each interview has been donated to the library by James Wilson Elliott, which was Frida's husband. And get this part, it's kind of funny, and they are available to be checked out by responsible persons. So you can see Frida's author, you know, being the author on that part too. But the part that was really interesting to me about this was that it states Imperial Beach Library hopes to establish a historical room. And as a beginning, this book and the Imperial Beach Garden Club yearbooks, publicity books, and guest books will be donated to the library. Also, the original secretary's book of the Imperial Beach Civic Group, which was organized in 1945. Frida was a visionary. Way back then, she knew there was going to be a room in that library. It was her hope to have it as a historical room, as a repository for historical items such as this. But here's where I disagree with that. If I were to give this to the library, it would become county property. It doesn't belong to the county. It belongs to us. But I truly believe, as I'm sitting here, that the name of that Friends of the Library bookstore should be named for Frida Elliott Adams. And that is my motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Do we have any other comments, or are you ready for a vote? I'd like to make one comment, if you don't mind. As somebody who loves history, especially the history of the city, in fact, I was just making the comment to the city manager that I need to get the binder back that I loaned the city so that they could scan it into the archives. But I grew up down the street from Frida, I believe. And, you know, when naming things after a particular individual, I look at who knew him best. And Mrs. Bragg, if you say that she would like the Friends of the Library bookstore to be named after her, I will go ahead and call for a vote.
I was looking at the minutes of the Friends of the Library, their last line. This is real important. We will sell cheap at the sale on Saturday, September 12th, the big book sale, because we need to get rid of everything. Storage costs money. So is that book sale still on September 12th?
But I've already agreed to keep books because if we don't do that, we're not going to have books on the book market until we can get donation. And that's one of the ways that we are able to raise money. We are going to give.
Can I actually get you to come up? And just clarification, this is just a request to the county. Nothing's absolutely permanent.
We are going to have a blowout book sale and then keep some books that I will store at my house to be able to keep the book cart going. Well, I've been told I have a pretty loud voice, so, but I have offered to keep some books so that we can keep that going. I'm the one that goes there on Saturday to fill the book cart. So it's so that we can we don't want people to forget about the Friends of the Library when we're in the temporary location at the Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you.
With that, so thank you.
Mr. Spriggs, I'll let you make the comment, and then we are taking a vote after this.
Great. Thank you all for everything that you do. I hope we at some point can request to the county or find an alternative way to create a historical space that can be the repository of these documents and safeguard them so that Lori doesn't have to carry them around wherever she goes in Imperial Beach. And exactly for photographs and other the historical story of Imperial Beach, we really do need a space that has that, and it's something we should try to work towards. Thank you.
Okay, on that, we have a motion, a second. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Dedina absent.
On to 5.5, resolution number 2015-7605, awarding public works contract for the alleyways. Mr. Levine?
Mayor Pro Tem Belbray, council members, I'm here to kind of on two notes. One, about 18 months ago, maybe a little bit more than that, you directed Public Works or the city to do a alley paving project. And I don't think you expected me to take this long, so I apologize for that. But that being said, it is good news, I hope, that we are asking you to award a contract to PAL. And the extra good news is that the low bid is within the budget that you set for us roughly 2 years ago or 18 months ago. So I'm recommending that you adopt resolutions before you.
Mr. Hall?
Yeah, earlier in our staff meeting today, we asked Hank to provide you with some pomp and circumstance for this event. And we played some music and he got pretty fired up. He got up and saluted and did a few things for us and whatnot. But I just want to add, I know how hard he has worked on putting this project together. I know how long the council has waited for this to happen. This is one of those, we talked a little bit about the hotel tonight. This is another one of those transformational projects, and they're not all big commercial projects. And so I just wanted to take just a moment to say, we talked a little bit about balance tonight and what a great job this city council is doing. And one of those balance things that you're doing is you are trying to improve the neighborhoods every bit as you're trying to improve some of the commercial and other things in our community. So I know in a lot of the residents I've talked to, I just wanted to pass on to you guys what an important project this is for our community and how exciting it is that we're moving forward on this after so much pain and suffering and trying to get it all planned and replanned again. And Hank's done a yeoman's job trying to get this thing moving. So congratulations to you, council, on really a great project moving forward.
And public comments, Chris Brown, kept my dad away from this meeting just for that reason, but I guess we always have to have opposition.
I don't know if I can walk now after tonight. Chris Brown, 1361 California Street. I am for improving the community. I work to improve it. But over all these years, since 1967, I have paid out of my pocket to pave streets, sidewalks, and alleys. If this goes through, it's not a threat, but it is a statement. I will be sending you a bill for part of my paving price. That is the way it's going to be. So you'll probably deny it, but I'm going to push it with all the residents here who have over all these years paid to do this, because it's not fair for you to improve somebody else's property because they usually have a rental that is on that alley. And that's why I paved streets and alleys. And you're going to improve that, and you're not going to make them pay a thing. The least you could have done was have them pay $100 a year for 5 years. It's money. At least make them pay some part of it. But no, you're going to give away our money for bonds that you sold to get that money. And it's not fair to all of the ones who've been here since 1967 and before, and that we improve all of that. So that's the way I feel. I had to tell you. And your grandmother would have approved of it too.
Oh, trust me, I know. She always voted for an assessment district.
That's right.
Do we have any comments?
I'll just
Councilmember
comment.
Briggs?
We've had this discussion over many years, at least the 4.5 years I've been on the council, and I'm sure before that, what to do about the alleys. And our preference was, I think, always to do some sort of an assessment district. The last time that was tried, it failed to vote miserably. And we've had unpaved alleys ever since. The council wants to see Imperial Beach improve and move forward. I know I have personally, on several occasions, wanted to respond to owners' requests for informal self-help measures to improve the alleys. We all remember those discussions. It drove Mr. Levine nuts because of the standards for safety, et cetera, that were being proposed for self-help measures were not up to ideal code standards, but it would have been a way to allow residents to use their own money to get something done to improve potholes and wet conditions and that sort of thing. That didn't work. We've tried to get residents to organize themselves into groups that could come forward with their own plans. We could assist. That didn't work. So we have managed to squirrel away reserves for this project as our sort of last resort to get alley paving done. And I don't know what the alternative is. I mean, we've just about tried everything, and I'm for this project. I know that it's going to not be equitable necessarily for people who've come before in years past and have paid their assessments. But I honestly don't know what our other alternatives are. You know, we've got to get our alleys paved. And I guess we could stop and just say, okay, put it to the voters in a referendum of Imperial Beach. Maybe that's the only alternative at this point would be to hold on to these funds, put it in a referendum, say that we'll put in X amount, but the residents need to raise Y amount in a referendum and see if they vote it up or down. If they vote it down, then where are we? Right back here. So I don't know. I think we're at the point where we've got to fish or cut bait, and I'm for fishing.
Any other comments? With that, I will move that we adopt resolution 2015-7605 and direct staff that after the project's done, if there is any remaining funds, that you come back to council so that we can figure out. We have alleyways that are paved or been asphalted that should be in our schedule maintenance, and I'd like to take a look at that. So adopt resolution 2015 and direct staff to come back to us.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we please vote?
Motion carried unanimously by those present, DeGina absent.
And you guys are all lucky because at least, you know, you guys can go home and get away from all this. Not only do I have to live with the guy, I also have him showing up at work every day. So, and with that, we have 2.8, I believe. 2.2. Take that one first.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the council members and staff who've had to stay. I'm sorry to drag it out a little bit longer, but there were a couple items on the warrant register that were very high. And in keeping with my desire to periodically surprise the staff with questions about expenditures. Yeah, right. I did want to ask about the item on page 4 of the computer printout, which is Kearney Pearson Ford for 3 F-150s. I think I know the answer to that, but I think because it's such a large item, all done at once. What is that item? What does it pertain to? And do we have any sort of special purchase arrangements for lower cost acquisition of this type of vehicle?
Yeah, well, this is a budgeted item through the Vehicle Maintenance Replacement Fund as part of the schedule of replacing vehicles. So we decided it was actually 3 F-150s and 1 F-350, the line below it. We purchased the 4 trucks. 2 of them went to the fire department and 2 went to public safety. The 2 that went to the fire department, I'm sorry, public works, and 2 went to the fire. I'm sorry. But the 2 that did go to the fire department, the 2 vehicles that were replaced also went to public works. So we kind of rotated some vehicles down. We piggybacked the San Diego City contract. So we feel like we got favorable pricing for the vehicles through that contract. And that was vetted through the city itself. And so this is just an ongoing practice of keeping our vehicles up to date.
Thank you. The other one is on the next page, and that's I think I understand what this one is as well, but I'd just like to put it on the record. The $143,632 for Blue Pacific Engineering. It says mainline micro tunneling. Could you provide a quick explanation of that?
This is part of our sewer fund, the micro tunneling project. Hank, if you want to add a little detail.
We had the micro tunneling from under Highway 75 contract with Blue Pacific from Bernardo Shores over to Rainbow Drive. And this is the last payment except for the retention that we still have, which is 5% of the total.
Is this out of the sewer fund?
It is a sewer enterprise fund, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Oh, that's all the questions I had about the warrant.
Yeah, no problem. Just a quick note. I heard you earlier. I was in my office listening to the councilman, and you had brought up the treasurer report. And that's part of our investment policy. And next month, Chandler will be here to do their biannual investment presentation. And I'll go into a little more detail on that report because it ties right into that presentation.
I did give you some kudos, and you weren't in the room, but thank you very much for including that in our monthly meetings.
Okay. No other. I entertain a motion to adopt consent item 2.2.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And I believe that's it. So
Motion carried unanimously by those present, Dedina absent.
You're a little ahead of myself. I will close the meeting.